Hello all, good morning, good evening. So welcome all for the very first day, first session of SAP Transportation Management. I hope you all are glad to be part of the very first day, first session. That's good. So let's probably begin with the very first day, first session of our transportation management session. And with that, I would like to start off with the very first term to talk about, that is very basic essential term, that is landed cost. Now, when I say landed cost, what is your understanding or what is your thought on the term landed cost, or what did you understand if I say landed cost?
It is actual cost includes the transportation as well as price, taxes, everything. It is a actual cost of landed cost months. What we are going to give to our customer, total cost. It includes Hamali charges. All those are going.
Correct. Very correct. Very true, Sanjay. So most likely when I say landed cost, usually it get mistaken with most of the times that landed cost is only the transportation cost basically. So landed cost is not only the transportation cost, I would say it includes all such sort of distributed cost, which is actually the part of the overall transportation. And that's the reason when I say landed cost, that is nothing but the total cost that is being occurred on that particular product to get it delivered to the end user. And that is where when I say transportation cost, which is just a part of the overall cost that you are having. So just like what you said, like handling cost, transportation cost, uh, taxes, duties, all these stuffs gets entitled together to form the landed cost, and that is what is being referred. Very correct, Sanjay.
Rohan, just one question there.
Mm-hmm.
Will we use the same term when goods are being shipped, for example, from for example, from a supplier to us during the inbound process,
Hmm. Same,
right?
same.
Or yeah,
Hmm.
or if there are intermediaries
Mm-hmm.
in between while sending it out over to the customer. No, but in that case, it will just be whatever cost comes at the end towards the customer.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
basically, it is basically overall cost at the end level, I would say, towards the customer level to make it more specific. Because ultimately, until unless goods reaches to the customer, the cost keeps on adding at any point of time. So maybe like due to any other stuff.
Mhm.
So it keeps on adding ultimately, because ultimately the customer is the final goal of any product. That is the reason.
I mean, I thought perhaps that the point or the node where it is being considered may also change the definition of landed cost, meaning where it's coming from a supplier to us who will finally be delivering it
Correct.
to the end customer.
Hmm.
So for
Correct.
us, the landed cost will become something like what's
Something
coming in.
else. X minus 2, and maybe like when it actually gets delivered to the customer, it becomes X. Correct.
Correct.
Correct. That is true. But usually we do not refer, or we do not include, or we do not use that X minus 2 probably from our perspective. It is always X which is considered as the final uh,
Okay.
thing.
Right. Thanks.
And good to see you. Thank you. Thanks you are there,
Mhm.
Priyanka.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another aspect that you might be aware of, or you might not be aware of, is something called as shipper and a consignee. Now, any idea what this could mean to you guys? or what kind of understanding you might have with respect to a shipper or a consignee?
Shipper who ships the goods to a who ships to a goods to a customer is shipper.
Hmm.
Otherwise, who is actually going to ship it? Like if we are going to consider one of the example, if Tata Motors is there, if he is going to ship from his side in his company, he
Hmm.
become a shipper. Otherwise, he is going to give for a third party. He is
Hmm.
going to take the entire responsibility. Then he become a shipper, not a Tata Motors.
Okay, that is very good. And consignee?
Consignee consignee is a, who sells the material to customers. Consignor is who receives the material.
In fact, the other way.
Okay.
It's the other way around, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Shipper, can we consider shipper as the
Mm.
transporter?
A transporter means what do you understand with the transporter? Basically, the one who is carrying the goods.
Transporting, right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
I'll.
consignee is to whom we are shipping.
Okay. 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 Fine.
Shipper, I believe,
I'll.
is finally the person who's wanting to deliver the goods.
Uh,
Consignee or shipper or the
consign.
consignor, and then consignee is the one who is receiving those.
Okay. Okay. At least with these statements, at least one thing is clear. Like consignee is the one who is intended for that good. Basically, is the end user. Okay. So definitely correct on that part. Maybe Sanjay, if you were talking about something with respect to shipper, you were pretty much correct on the shipper part. Okay. So let me talk about with respect to that in a very simple example. Um, Suppose you are ordering something um, for your brother. Okay, let's take a simple example from Amazon. Okay, we use Amazon, right? So who is living somewhere in Chennai, suppose? So and probably you are somewhere sitting somewhere in Bangalore or somewhere. So if I would like to order something from Amazon from a brother in Chennai, then in that case, who is going to be the shipper and who is going to be the consignee?
The one in Bangalore is the shipper. The one in Chennai is concerned.
Okay. Anybody else have some different thoughts?
So I mean, consignee is the who is the receiver of the goods. That one
Okay.
is consignee.
Okay.
So
Fine. So
your brother, in this case, your brother is the
Yeah,
consignee.
correct.
very true. So at least with this, we are in sync with the previous statements that probably the consignee is the one to whom we are intended to book that goods. Definitely correct. So, and what about the shipper?
Who is the
Amazon,
sender?
Amazon.
Amen.
Amazon. Okay. Anybody else have some different thought?
No, no, third party who is going to ship the material against Amazon, behalf of Amazon.
Mm, okay. On behalf of Amazon, who is going to ship? Is it? Okay. Okay.
Shipper is which is nothing but consignor, basically who arrange goods to be
Hmm.
shipped. Yeah, whether it is shipper can be a company who manufactures the goods or vendor who supplies the raw materials. That is the shipper, and the consignee is the
Hmm.
end customer.
Correct. So probably in our case, in case what we are talking about in our example, who is going to be the
Mm.
shipper then?
Bangalore.
Amazon.
Okay. So most likely, most of the times, people have the similar kind of understanding, and Sanjay was closer to what he was trying to reach, but probably he was also uh, not to the point most likely there. But good attempts, all of you guys, and really appreciate for your answers. Let me talk about that, suppose. Okay, so let's talk about Amazon. We must have used Amazon, so I am not talking about Amazon. So let me pick up anything. Oh, we can buy bikes also. Okay. Okay. For example, so suppose let's talk about, okay. So most likely when suppose I would like to order some bike, I don't know why I'm just saying this bike for the very first time, um, but yeah, Amazon sells bikes. Okay, great. So for example, I am talking about my I want to buy a bike, so I look for the details, I look for the properties, I look for the complete detailing about that. There's one more thing which we usually take care of, that is the pricing part and when it is getting delivered. Now below that there is one more additional step that you might be able to see over here, something called as ships from and sold by. Have you ever noticed this particular detail? Which most likely we do not intend to, but have you ever noticed this detail?
No, so is it like a DHL? Ships from means is a DHL?
That is where most of the people gets confused. Okay, so when I talk about a shipper is actually someone who actually ships the goods or sends the good most likely. I think that is what in line with Sanjay's initial definition which he spoke about, but probably when I asked this example he stumbled upon a little bit, but a very good attempt, Sanjay. So most likely when you talk about a shipper is actually someone who is shipping the goods from his end altogether. Now, when I am buying from Amazon, Amazon is not the shipper. It is this particular agency which is actually shipping out or selling out this product right to wheels for sales.
So in that case, sold by is Amazon, shipped by somebody else.
No. Again, sold by is this particular agency itself. I'll tell you what Amazon is. There are, I think, you would be able to see some. Um, I'll check for some different item. Probably you'll see some how it differs. Okay, sold by actually means who is selling that item, and ships by means who is actually arranging the shipment and he's shipping the items. Okay, now right now, if I talk about because this is the very first case I just saw that probably you were also having bikes also. So usually these bikes are sold by definitely by some automotive agency, most likely which is the same thing. However, for shipping, he's the only one who is going to ship it as well. In some cases, for example, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about this particular mobile. Let's see. In some cases, you might see it is being sold by somebody like Darshita Mobiles as in company somewhere, but it is basically shipped from Amazon altogether. Do you notice this?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talk about ships from Amazon, in this case, I can say this is a shipper. Amazon is a shipper because he's arranging the shipment most likely for this particular item. However, it is sold by some entity, definitely that is there. But the one who is selling that does not necessarily be the shipper altogether all times. Maybe whatever Darshita Mobiles might have packed with Amazon could have been like uh, they'll charge something and probably they'll take care of the shipment. Maybe Darshita Mobiles does not have to get into that level and ship it down. So it is between them whatever arrangement that they are having, but it is purely different. The one who is selling the items and actually the one who is shipping the items. So it could be either this guy who is shipping as well, and it could be Amazon, it could be shipping as well, and it could also be something somewhat as a different entity also which can do that part as well.
So would it be fair to say that the one who is actually arranging the entire process of, transportation and including all delivery, packing and everything, and then
Hmm.
shipping out finally to
Very true.
the end customer is the one who will be called as a shipper then?
Yeah.
No. End customer is your
Not the
consignee.
end customer.
Yeah.
No. I mean, to the end customer basically. I mean, or the one who's the person who supposed to be receiving in the chain of transportation or whatever we call it.
Yeah, basically the one who is actually shipping it from his end, most likely. If it is Amazon doing that entity, that part of entity for the end user, yes, Amazon is going to be the shipper. Right now, this is a very straight example to let you guys aware. That's the reason I took up this Amazon example,
Mhm.
because this exactly tells you, and we are most familiar with this interface altogether. So that's the reason this was a very easy example to let you know. But to make it more simpler, the one who is actually shipping, whether it is the same entity from where you are buying that particular mobile, or the one which is actually shipping, basically is listed over this place itself. So whenever you buy, always make sure that most likely you buy from some entity, definitely, but it is being shipped by Amazon, because you might have heard about such kind of cases as well. When I ordered some iPhone, I got some stone, right?
Rohan, it is already there in SAP SD, like third-party scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Correct now? In third-party scenarios, we are going to order. He had no stock, or he is not going to sell that particular material. He is going to order for his vendor. He is going to supply us, and he is going to get it. Correct?
Yeah, maybe SD. I might not be able to answer
Yeah,
that. Yes, but
yeah,
yeah,
Rohan.
I
It
think
is
it
already
is. It
there.
is there. Yeah, but what I can say, it is there. But yeah,
But partner
ultimately,
functions are going to play a vital role in these
yes,
scenarios.
yes, partner functions are going to be there. So definitely, they are going to be there, and the shipper is basically one of the partner function to talk about.
Yep.
And in
Okay.
SD terminology, Rohan,
Mm-hmm.
the consignee, I can call it ship to party.
Ship to party. Very correct. Very correct. Ship to party and ship from party. Very correct. So in SD terminology, you are exactly correct. Okay, so in probably in TM the similar things are there. However, with new terminology, with the actual transportation related terminology, it is included with something called as shipper and consignee altogether. So the major intention over here to talk about was to let you know, like, because lot many a times consignee, it is most of the times it is clear to most of the people. However, shipper gives a slight unbalancing feel that most likely if I'm ordering from Amazon, Amazon is a shipper. If I'm ordering from some different platform, he's the shipper, or somebody might consider. I think I got to hear one more thing. The one I think, I think whether it was, I don't remember who said that. Most likely the one who is carrying the goods, most likely. Uh, and that was the shipper. So basically, it is actually the one who is actually arranging the shipment, actually moving the shipment, most likely. It could be Amazon, it could be the seller who is selling that goods. He could do that. It could be somebody else as well.
So, Rohan, in this case,
Mm-hmm.
can we say then the consigner is a different person than the shipper then? Consigner is the one who is wanting to sell, wanting
Yes,
to have the goods moved in,
yes. Consigner is basically nothing but your sold by
sold
party.
by. Okay.
Yeah, the one who is looking like this, he is the consigner basically.
Okay.
Okay. And ships from, definitely the one, actually the entity who is actually moving that item for you.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. I think I see Sanjay's hands raised. Do you still have something, Sanjay?
No, shipper is nothing but LSP, freight forwarder, or carrier, or uh,
Oh,
goods. This one, no? As per you.
okay. So now you introduce a couple of more terms, maybe, uh, but it is not that. But yeah, I would
Yeah, that's the reason,
come on that.
Rohan. So that's the reason, Rohan, I would suggest. So you please
Yeah,
go ahead, start with your conversation, so that
yeah,
ask the questions, because I'm new to SAPTM. I don't know anything. If you are talking about a
correct.
3PL scenario or any other things and all, how
Very
can I
correct.
sit here? I cannot
Very
sit
correct.
here.
Very correct.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
So that is what I'm saying. So I would most likely say that yes, you can probably, Sanjay, park yourself right now because I'll come over there. Okay. Okay. So most likely, let's move on with another term. Most likely, at least this one is clear, right? Shipper and consignee. That is what is the basic understanding that we are there with.
So consignee is the final person who received. Shipper is
Yeah,
who has goods who is shipping. Okay.
true. Shipper is the one who is actually shipping the goods. Very true. Now it can be anyone. So that is what we spoke about. Does not necessarily to be the one who is intending to ship. Correct.
Yep.
Now let's move on with another term called as carrier, because I heard something as carrier by someone, most likely was talking about. So maybe what your understanding is, what would you understand with the term carrier?
I actually tried to tell you that a transporter.
Yes, Atanu, right?
Right.
Right. I think you only said that like transporter. Very correct. I was intending for you only. So, uh, transporter. Okay. Now, when I say transporter, do you consider this Amazon as a transporter, or how is it? Because you spoke about with respect to that only.
Amazon, in some cases, from my experience, I'm telling you, Rohan, when
Mm-hmm.
I often order from Amazon. So in my
Mm-hmm.
experience, I'm telling you, for the
Mm-hmm.
retail sundry products,
Hmm.
sometimes it is Amazon transported, the transported item. Sometimes it is a third party.
Hmm. Okay. Correct. Very true. And so, whom do you consider as a carrier then? That Amazon
So
guy or
depending
the,
on the situation, if Amazon
depending on
transports, yeah,
situation?
because Amazon has
Hmm.
its own transport division, so sometimes
True.
they themselves transport, so I will consider Amazon as the carrier.
Hmm.
But in the case, let's say FedEx, so
Hmm.
if they get it delivered by FedEx, then I will consider FedEx as the carrier.
Okay, fine. Anybody else have some different understanding on what a carrier is? Maybe some different thoughts, maybe?
Yes, carrier has no relationship with either shipper or consignee. He is a
Hmm.
person anybody can. For example, I'm making products. I can ask FedEx to ship my goods if I don't have my own carriers. Carrier is just it is intended
Hmm.
to move the goods from your location to the shipper location to the consignee location.
Very true. Very straightforward, I would say, the answer. So, very in a simple way, I think what Atanu also said, mostly I would say we are in line. And what Babu, you also said, it is pretty much clear that carrier is actually somebody or someone who is actually carrying the goods, as simple as what the word says. Okay, so just like as the word suggests, like carrier means what actually that person is carrying. So if you are acting as a carrier, you are carrying something, then only you are termed as a carrier. Okay, so these carriers can be anybody, like it could be a person on a cycle, on a bike, it could be on a truck, tempo, trolley, rickshaw, it could be any other entity which is performing that part of carrying that goods. And that is where it most of the time gets mistaken with another term called as 3PL. Now, what would you understand with 3PL altogether?
3PL is going to give us the warehouse facilities also in this. Who is going to carry the goods and going to
Hmm.
stock it and distribute it?
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have some different thoughts?
I'll make an attempt. Okay.
True. Correct. Correct. I would like that.
It retail also includes the freight classes also, not only warehouse. It includes freights also. It can it can put freights to the transportation process based on the requirement.
Mm,
Third party logistics can
okay.
have their own carriers, or they can contract to carrier also. They can bring some other people also if they don't have facilities. Third party logistics, all FedEx,
Mm,
DHL goes
very
under.
true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have their own vehicles, sometimes they will contract to somebody else, some carriers. Yep.
Mm, okay.
They are the only conduit between shipper and consignee. Yeah.
Hmm. So basically, if I would like to say, so carriers and 3PLs are different, right? At least you get some sense, right, that these two are different entities. True?
Sorry, between whom?
Carriers and 3PL, these are different, right? At least
Yes,
because
these are different. Basically, in our
correct.
example, we can say Amazon is the 3PL player. So
Hmm.
basically, it is not having any own products. It is just
Okay.
acting as a mediator between this the product owner and the product consumer.
Okay. Fine.
Um, I
Hmm.
thought there could be some, said,
Some similarity.
similarities. The
Hmm.
reason being, what if Blue Dart or these people also have their own logistics, I mean, warehouses or whatsoever, and they have a agreement with the company or with the person who is the shipper to be sending out
Hmm.
goods across. Then in that case,
Hmm.
they may have the fleet to be delivering the goods at the same time,
Hmm.
but they have other facilities as well. So it's not just the transportation towards the end customer, but they may also
Correct.
provide other services. So
Correct. So most likely, if I would like to summarize to what everybody was intending to talk about was the similar stuff that when I talk about a 3PL, as the name suggests, third party logistics, probably we'll talk about in a separate slide altogether different part of party logistics systems which are there. Third party logistics systems are basically the one where we are talking about a third party or different entity which is controlling your transportation actually. Third party and means first party is always the shipper which is intending to ship. That is the first one. Second is actually the one who is carrying the goods altogether. Okay. So definitely those are needed. Third parties are basically are the optional ones which can help you in facilitating the services in a better way. Now, these services could be in any other form. It could be like warehousing, it could be providing additional support, it could be like support providing any fumigation services. And these are some of the companies which are usually considered in the real time for transportation purpose as well. Okay. Now, depending upon what is needed, okay, you're going to go with them. Okay, so that is the reason when you talk about a carrier and a 3PL, which is also known as logistics service providers, also called as freight forwarders. And these are typically different from your carrier. Now, for example, they could be DHL, it could be FedEx, it could be Panalpina, it could be Blue Dart altogether. You have plenty amount of companies, such companies which are helping you in arranging the transportation. 3PL means third party logistics, or LSPs, logistics service provider. They are actually assisting and providing the services, okay, or freight forwarders. So either of these companies that you might have heard about or seen about, they are simply assisting you in providing the logistics support services only. Now, what does that mean? That actually means they are not the ones who are carrying the goods. Okay. They are actually helping you in arranging a carrier for you, and that is something which could be some any local player, like maybe like local trucking company, or some tempo company, or maybe like individual tempo guy. Maybe like DHL guy has onboarded in suppose um Surat. Maybe I have a network of 5-6 tempos which DHL guy is managing, because that is the amount of goods that he might be uh, he might have to deliver at Surat. So maybe like 5-6 tempos are enough for him to take care of that. Now, over and above, the one that you see in the streets, in the roads, most likely with DHL tempo written on that. Now that depends upon whether they are paying to those tempos to write out those DHL over there. Another possibility could be it could be DHL's fleet in Surat, maybe, because I, as a DHL guy, I might not own fleet of carriers around the globe. Where I feel that most likely I would be getting consistent business, I might own some fleet, most likely, which is useful for the business. So maybe I am paying to those tempo guys for writing out DHL, just maybe like advertisement trick or marketing trick, or I might be into that segment, maybe because all these companies are good enough companies, okay, big companies altogether, and they can get into the carrier segment of business as well. So if I would tell you, maybe DHL has their own planes also. Okay, so that does not mean DHL is a carrier company. Initially, basic bread and butter is a 3PL part only, but maybe like they have grown big enough, like, and they would like to get into the carrier segment of business, and that is what they are coming up with. Okay, so very first time that you see something like you have a FedEx plane flying or FedEx bus going on, a FedEx truck going on, does not necessarily mean that they are the carriers, which we usually take it as a mistaken entity that, okay, we are talking about FedEx, so they are the carriers. No, they are the 3PLs who can arrange a carrier for you, or they might have their own division of carrier which can really take care of that goods. But they both are different. Able to realize that part?
So what you said, Rohan, if we understand in one line, 3PLs are there the service providers from the shipper. They are helping the shipper some
Very
services.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So sometimes they have their own carriers. Sometimes
Hmm.
they also go and get, they will send, for example, DHL having does not have much facility on behalf of them. They will tell them, so, hey,
Correct.
uh, go Rohan, go and ship the material, but still on the name
Very
of
true.
DHL. Yep.
DHL only. And that is the reason whenever you are buying from Amazon. Now let me jump into the Amazon example because we started with that. So when I talk about this Amazon example, and when I say it is being shipped from Amazon, so ultimately Amazon is shipping. Very true. Now, if Amazon really have that arm, that is what I think I think it was Atanu or who said, or somebody. But if Amazon really have that arm, which it really has, of a carrier, maybe he can do that part, or else Amazon might get in touch with any of these player, which in turn will get in touch with these guys. Okay, so that is the reason both shipper is different, carrier is different, and LSPs are also different. It could be same in case of a certain business, that is a different case altogether, but their fundamental aspects are different and their fundamental jobs are also different. Able to realize that? Because sometimes we see that probably I'm ordering from Amazon, but I am getting it delivered by e-cart logistics, right? Or getting it delivered by DHL. Now, that does not mean that most likely DHL is a part of Amazon or Amazon is entity of DHL. No. Able to realize that, right?
So I think freight forwarding company who is responsible for only the, I think insurance part of maybe some container has been damaged, all things. What is the agreement between shipper and freight forwarder? That one should be responsible, I think.
Maybe if we just say it in one word, who is the arranger? I don't know. I mean,
Sorry?
I was just
Then
saying, I mean, if we sort of describe it in a one word or something, maybe he's an
Mm-hmm.
arranger of, that
Yes.
transportation here.
Facilitator, as simple as
Correct.
that.
Yeah,
Very true.
correct.
LSPs are nothing but the facilitator of your transportation. And it may be with respect to not only with carrier, it could be with respect to any other sense, basically. It is simply like a broker. If you reach out to a broker for a certain house, if you want to have a house, he does not only check with that owner, he check with that house as well, based upon your interest as well, and based upon that he suggests you, okay, buy it in this location if you have a good budget. If this is the school, this is all things are there. That is generally considered. So that is a simpler part of a facilitator. What does it do?
3PL is nothing but like professional couriers who are going to be in every street, and he's going to give a good price, good prices, and going to be arrange the carrier for us. Correct? Like that also.
Sorry.
When we are going to visit any courier companies,
Hmm.
those are going to be in every street like that.
Very true. Very true.
He had no his own flights are there or not, but he is
Hmm.
going to arrange us a very good transport services like price
Correct.
and cost reducing also.
Correct.
Mm, he is
Okay.
easily reachable, but carrier is not easily reachable for us.
Correct. And that is the major reason why do we intend to get with these people altogether. Okay. So
Mohan, can we say that, like, I mean, for
mhm,
example, you said DHL or FedEx are the 3PLs. They are having their own trucks also. So in that way, they can
correct.
act as a carrier also, for that
Yes,
matter.
yes. I think that is what I said most likely. So there could be a case like they have their own truck, own plane, and probably they can enter into carrier business. Definitely, they can
No,
have
no,
their
for
own.
providing services. I mean, I mean, for the logistical services, you are saying that, I mean, transporting
Mm-hmm.
the goods. If they are, they are using their own vehicles or own trucks or,
Mm-hmm.
what tempos, then in
Mm-hmm.
that, for that activity, you can say they are acting as a carriers also.
Correct, correct. That is what I'm saying. So most likely when you talk about these, so these are this is the carrier job, right? So you are having a plane, you're driving the goods from point A to point B. As simple as that, what a carrier does. So, but ideal job role is not to have a DHL's job role is not to transport or carry the goods. Okay. So it is simply the job role of a carrier. but they are entering into the business of a carrier and they are doing that job. Just like how I'm expanding my business. So maybe like now I'm not only taking multiple orders, but I'm also executing those as well. That
So
is how
LSP
it is.
means you can say that they are taking care of entire logistics. I mean, that's
Yes,
what broadly you can say that your
completely facilitating, just like how I would facilitate your end user altogether.
whereas carrier just their role, they're going just to pick the goods and deliver to
Deliver the
you
goods. That is
know,
totally correct. So if you might have talked to any truck person or truck guy or tempo guy, they might not be knowing the overall logistics plan, but maybe they are only entitled to pick up the goods from point A and get it dumped into point B, and that is job is done. They
Whereas
are def
LSP will have entire tracking and all these things. I mean, we can have the shipment tracking, everything we can do with LSP also.
I
What I
know
understand.
carriers, a good amount of carriers also have that tracking thing, but the only
Yeah,
thing is the overall visibility will not be there with the carrier to make it more precise. Because, for example, if I talk about Maersk, which is also a carrier, heard about this Maersk company?
yeah.
Hmm?
They're in the shipping and
Maersk,
cargo. Yeah.
yes. So Maersk have very good kind of tracking mechanism and the good way of movement. But their ultimate goal is to do what? To transport any item from one port to another port. After that, whatever you do is off the charts,
Correct.
right? But DHL might have that plan. Okay, probably one port to another port and then probably get it delivered to some XYZ place as well.
But both are
Because this
doing
is the
same
classic
purpose,
scenario
am I
for,
right, Rohan?
let
Sorry.
me
Go ahead.
get my question. So there is classic scenario for my company. What we are doing typically, so we are
Hmm.
the manufacturer of goods. Sometimes we adopt the services of DHL or FedEx,
Hmm. Hmm.
and certain times we directly hand over goods to the
Very true.
the truck or courier companies. Like
Hmm. Very true.
I mean that we can say
And
that for that there are two both options we're adopting.
correct.
That
And
LSP
that
also.
is the only thing I would like to ask altogether with the same question. Now, if you are aware that probably the major transportation, major movement is being done by the carrier, then why do we opt for this particular guys?
No, but
Why do we
Rohan,
need?
LSP's
Hmm.
responsibility is far, I mean, much higher than a carrier, just carrying the goods. Because let's say
Hmm.
I ordered from Amazon a
Hmm.
particular chemical which needs to be maintained at sub-zero temperature. Now, a
Correct.
carrier is not going to give that facility.
Hmm.
The particular item needs to be stocked at sub-zero temperature. It is up
Correct.
to the responsibility of the LSP. And also, if I
Correct.
think further, let's say I would like
Hmm.
to return the goods. Carrier is not responsible in that case, but LSP
Hmm.
is responsible, even if I would like to return the goods back to the either you call it shipper or Amazon in this case.
Very correct. So most likely, the very thing is reachability.
Your laptop.
Hmm. So very true. So most likely, this is the same thing I think which we spoke about, because I think some or the other person basically spoke about that. Probably I think it was Sanjay or someone. I think I see this particular DHL or FedEx every round the corner most likely, but I don't see any tempo or truck guy as in a store where I can go and walk in and I can ask them most likely. And that's the reason we have that sense of, you know, trust which we are building with these people, that okay, at least they are their doorstep. We can catch their hold and maybe we can talk to them. Unlike these people altogether, which actually helps in reducing the responsibility part altogether. And we feel that they are more responsible and capable than these people. Ultimately, they are the ones who are actually transporting, but still we feel that okay, we still have much more trust with these people because they are reachable, they are approachable, and if we want to even send out some package, maybe I would need a truck guy. He would simply go and dump from point A to point B. That is done. But what about if I want to send it to Chennai? Who is going to take care of my goods in Chennai? Maybe. Or maybe to the doorstep to my brother who is living in Chennai. So basically, they have that sense of responsibility, what you exactly said correctly.
And Rohan, there may be another reason that I mean, like
Mhm.
Yeah,
typically what we are doing, like for example, if we need to transport bulk goods, then we can
Mhm.
probably go for truck or direct courier. But there are small packets, small parcels which we cannot, transport our own. There
Mhm.
you have to adopt this LSP because we cannot do a shipment of a single small parcel. We
Very
don't
correct.
that
Very
cost
correct.
we cannot bear.
Very correct. So another part is basically the cost only. So just like you were talking about a small shipment, like if you are sending some book, maybe for just your own book, a complete whole big tempo or truck will not be transporting just your book most likely. That is the reason. Even if you reach out to these carriers also, they would charge you for the entire truck or tempo altogether just for carrying one book, which
Or
is not a feasible.
they may wait to club all goods and they will take
Yes,
their own time. Yeah, that.
yes, all or they will take your time. Very correct. So either cost you'll have to bear with the time altogether. Very true. So
and
ultimately, what you have to end
and
up with.
3PLs here, Rohan, 3PLs or LSP or freight forward are going to take the entire responsibility, like insurances of the goods also. Correct?
Hmm,
Insurances of the goods also. These people are going to take some amount from us and going to give very good services.
Uh,
Carrier is not going
carriers also provide right now transportation, even via carrier also they also provide insurance services. However, in India it is not that much prominent, but in most of the places where if you talk about the national carriers, most of the places they do provide and give an option.
to.
So, but yes, one part I truly agree with you that 3PLs will offer you a much more facilities, maybe like in terms of insurance or storage, or if you ask something, that if you have something, maybe they can help you in offering some larger assistance basically than your carrier. Definitely. So I would write it out as an assistance as a keyword, most likely, which you might get from them. Okay.
So
Now,
in one line, if you want to answer carrier and 3PL difference, carrier, I can ask anybody on the road who can ships the materials, who can
true,
carry my material from A to B.
true,
That is the
very
carrier,
correct,
am I right? So
very
3PL
correct,
means is a big organization who arranges carriers to so many people. Like that, that
correct,
what you have to think.
correct, very true. So carriers' focus and limitations are limited to just to carry and dump the goods. As simple as that. As the word suggests, carrier. So carrying the goods altogether. But when I talk about the 3PL or an LSP, as the name suggests, logistics service provider, they are actually providing the services basically for the logistics supports altogether. So as simple as that. And all these are the different factors which actually are intending to you that why would you opt for a 3PL guy rather than reaching out to the carrier altogether, because ultimately we are also aware right now that DHL guy also will club the goods and reach out to this truck guy only. But if you reach out to this truck guy individually, probably these could have been the reason which you avoid, and most likely you would reach out to them at a much easier pace altogether. That's the reason, because this probably could come into your mind as part of question why I would reach out to this DHL then. If I can get my job done, most likely I have my friend who is riding a tempo. He's a tempo rider. So why would I reach out to this DHL guy? And these are some of the factors which might can come into picture, because your friend might not go by just taking your book and probably he's just driving it out. Even he might club it with somebody else altogether without telling you also. Okay. So that is clear, right? 3PL and a carrier.
Yep,
Yes.
but yeah,
Okay.
but both doing intended
Hmm.
purpose. Am I right? I can use
Intended
carrier. I can
purpose.
use.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So definitely you should have some intention, and that's the reason whenever a shipper reaches out to them, they have their own intention altogether. So if they feel that a carrier can do that job, maybe if I talk about Amazon who is shipping, most likely Amazon has a good fleet of truck and they have a good network and they can do that part, they can manage themselves. Definitely they can reach out to the carrier anyhow, or else definitely they are the ones which are the last resort for any other kind of reliance that you have. So it purely depends what is your scope and how you are considering these entities altogether. And that is how you generally project and have these into your onboarded segments.
One question, Rohan. What is the difference between 2PL and 3PL here?
I'll come there. I'll come there. Probably, as I said, most likely this PL part, different kind of PLs are there. So I'll talk about different kind of PLs most likely once I'll come there. Okay, so very true. So now I think we are pretty much clear about what a carrier does, what a LSP does. So talking about that, let me shipper reaching out to carrier. Okay, one thing, shipper reaching out to THL. That is what we spoke about, which in turn is also reaching out to the carrier. Ultimately, what we are expecting. Now, let's talk about similar case. So this probably is a case which is generally referred as your 3PL kind of a case or an LSP kind of a case or a freight forwarder case, because actually you are forwarding your freight to some entity, basically like DHL. So these are the freight forwarders. Okay. Such kind of case, what you see probably where shipper is directly interacting to a carrier, okay, is basically called as a 2PL case, also called as a shipper scenario also. That means when you're talking about your TM being installed or TM being utilized, it is basically utilized by the shipper itself, and that is the reason you have your TM being installed at the shipper end, which is called as a 2PL case. 2PL means two parties are included. First is your shipper, another one is the carrier, which is definitely the basic thing. But since it is being managed by this shipper itself, and that is the reason it is referred as a shipper scenario. Moreover, in an 3PL case where I am not managing, I am probably reaching out to DHL. He is managing on my behalf, and that is the reason you might see TM from 3PL's perspective as well. Both the cases are different, both the processes are different as well. So once we'll get into the system, most likely in a couple of days, you would see that how TM is being considered in both the cases that we'll talk about all together. But just for your information, usually this is how it happens. And LSP being more complex case than a shipper, so I would probably be starting with an LSP case only once we'll get into the system as part of our discussion.
So, Ron, simply can we say that like shipper is someone who is also manufacturing or stocking goods and then
Yeah, anything.
okay.
As we just, I think that bike example that we said, right, in Amazon. So just as simple. So most likely when you talk about, it could be Amazon maybe, or it could be that if you go back, there was that bike company or bike dealer, right? It was there. Yeah, it could be this guy, anybody. So shipper does not intended A shipper does not specifically means a manufacturer, but if you talk about generally a manufacturer is intending that transportation to happen, it could be manufacturer itself. In most of the companies that you work, it would be more like of a manufacturing company only, because you would have that transportation being carried from them. Because if I manufacture something, I definitely intend to transport also, which is definitely a by default segment over there. So over there, you definitely have that thing.
And somebody who is just stocking the goods, not manufacturing, and then providing then adopting the transportation services or transportation management.
That can
So
also
for
be a
that,
shipper.
that can be also shipper.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe just like the one which we saw right now, Bright Two Wheels, they are not the manufacturers. Manufacturer is Hero MotoCorp. Okay,
Yeah.
so they are the stocking the goods. They are the ones who are stocking the goods, or they might be dealer, they might be retailer, whatsoever they are. But they are the one who are originating the shipment, or they are the one who intend to move the goods. So they definitely would have TM at their own end.
Correct. So that will be also shipper scenario.
Shipper scenario, correct.
Okay. And if specifically LSP will be, I mean, if you want to differentiate LSP very
Hmm?
specifically, what could be a differentiation like in terms of
Now,
TM?
Now, when you talk about LSP, it is not to be taken care by a Bright Two Wheels basically. Now, if Bright Two Wheels is not the one who is shipping, however, he is selling, but he does not want to take care of the transportation, most likely. He would like to outsource it to some DHL or Amazon or somebody else, maybe. So, in such cases, when a shipper does not want to take care of the transportation part, where he is outsourcing that part to some 3PL entities, that is where it becomes a 3PL case altogether. So if you see from the perspective of the business, you should always see from the place where TM is there. So that is the reason I probably intend to talk about that. You as a TM consultant will either be in a position sitting at a 3PL place, or either sitting at a 2PL place altogether, where
Oh, got it, got it. So in short, you can
okay.
say that for three, I mean, DHL is not originator of that shipment or shipping.
Hmm,
So that will be a LSP scenario. I mean, if TM is implemented over, then that will be LSP scenario because
correct.
they are not originator
Wherever
of the shipment.
Correct. There could be even a case, maybe like, for example, my company like Tata Steel, if I talk about Tata Steel also have TM. Okay. But in few cases, Tata Steel is not opting for their own TM system, because they don't want to manage. If they would have been managing, they would have reached out to the carrier directly. Maybe for the domestic transportation, Tata Steel can manage by themselves, but maybe for international transportation, they don't want, even they have TM, they don't want to use TM, they can lease out or outsource it from DHL. So in that case, even if I have TM, I'll not look from the Tata Steel's point of view of TM. I would probably talk from the DHL's TM point of view, basically. Okay, so the case itself shifts most likely to 3PL's point of view.
So that means Tata Steel doesn't have the TM, system or TM model itself. They are
Correct.
just handing over goods to DHL. Like I
As
mean,
simple as that. They might have their very hefty ERP system, Oracle and finance and SAP system, but they are not having TM altogether. They probably, because they are not managing transportation, so they don't intend to have that as well. So that's the reason from our
and in that case,
perspective.
what will be the advantage of TM? I mean, suppose, I mean, if the originator
Mhm,
they are adopting the services from the LSPs for taking care of their transportation. So, what will
mhm.
be the benefit to deploy TM, with their own system, like for that
See,
matter? Because
that is the need of a business altogether. So, for example, if I talk about Apple, Apple has TM. Okay. So, if you as an organization feel that you would like to take care of your transportation on your own, if you would like to manage the transportation on your own, and if you can onboard TM consultants at your end, and you can place and have that transportation being managed, it probably can easily be taken care over in this case. But
Okay.
if Apple feels that, okay, no, China, I don't want to have that carrier because ultimately you'll have to deal with the carrier. So uh, China or East Asian market, probably I cannot, manage the carriers over there, or it is costlier for me to manage the carriers, or some way or the other differences which comes up. I can't manage most likely, even though if I have TM, I could lease out to some different entities who can actually facilitate that part for me, and they can do that. Okay. So my point is, we are not from the business side. Definitely, I cannot stop running manufacturing my iPhones because I don't have carrier over there. So I can lease out to some different carriers and definitely get it delivered to China. No problem. But my point over here is, as we are from a TM or SAP background, so definitely we will be seeing from the things from the perspective of where TM is installed altogether. So if you are having TM, most likely, probably both the sides will be taken care by your TM system and being managed. If you are talking from the perspective of a shipper's case, you would be managing only a carrier perspective altogether.
So there
So
must
that's
be
it.
some added benefits, Rohan, that to deploying TM in our own system. I mean, like, and nowadays, what is the trend of TM being implemented or deployed? Because along with other systems, other ERPs or other SAP modules, so we can say
Most
this is increasing.
likely,
Yeah.
yeah, complete, please.
We can say that this is nowadays there is more inclination towards implementing TM in a super scenario, or if you're having own manufacturing, then TM will
Mhm.
bring some benefits on table that way.
Yeah,
We can say it.
definitely. It is not, I would not say a benefit. I would say you have very less companies, basically, as in 3PL companies, in comparison to if I talk about the shippers, because you have plenty amount of manufacturers, you have plenty amount of distributors, plenty amount of, I think, just like, in fact, you only said, right, probably if I'm originating any discussion from Bright to Wheels, maybe they can also have TM. And that's
Okay.
the reason, if you have lot many amount of shippers, most likely, so that is the reason that number or the count becomes very less at this level, because I cannot create a company like FedEx, DHL, or even a small 3PL company also in a very short span of time. I have lot many amount of shippers in comparison, and that's the reason you would see TM being installed at the shipper level, that you might, wherever you work, you would see a shipper scenario altogether only, because you have lot many different kind of companies, and there are a lot many such kind of companies in comparison to LSP companies. That is the only difference. So it is
Right.
not that probably shippers
Rohan,
are
you
installing TM more. Hmm.
Rohan, you brought a good point. See, if DHL TM means, for example, you are a Tata Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Tata Steel for DHL is a carrier for them. So they don't need LSP scenario in Tata's
Correct,
system. Am I
correct,
correct?
correct. Very true,
DHL
very true,
in the DHL system, that is LSP. Am I correct?
very
In
true,
DHL implementing LSP. Am I correct?
very true, very true.
So for us, I'm a Tata Steel. For me, I'm contracting my work with DHL is another carrier for me in that case. Am
Correct.
I
For
right?
me, he's simply a person who is, I'm outsourcing that work. I'm simply following it up. Just like you go to DHL and you hand over a goods to DHL. Now it is DHL's headache whether he transports it via one carrier, two carrier, 10 carrier, or he goes
It
by
doesn't matter
himself.
to me. Yeah,
It doesn't
he's
matter
just
to
a
me.
carrier for me. Yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
me, whatever he is, he can be a carrier, he can be a middleman, he can take help of two, three different people also. For me, that is irrelevant. I simply will be talking to him. He says that you track this via this tracking number, and after 3 days it will get delivered. My job is to simply track that and get it delivered. If not, I'll catch hold of this guy. Okay, where is my goods? As simple as that.
So Tata Steel, just if I'm in Tata Steel implementing
Hmm.
TM,
Correct.
my warehouse, the DHL guy will come to my warehouse and pick the
Correct.
goods and go. That so in
That's
my
it.
system, just is a DHL is a carrier for me. Am I correct?
It could be not carrier again, uh, because it has different meaning altogether. For
Okay,
me,
got it.
it has to be a 3PL entity altogether.
Okay.
So that is it.
Then, then
more, the what you can say, the reason or for the TM being implemented could be better planning, transportation planning, and even to bring down the cost, because that's what our realization. Because we were always, trying to optimize the transportation cost as a, as a distributor or the manufacturer.
Yeah, so that is the product differentiation, most likely you can say that, because but that is not the exact way I would say why only shippers are having more TM, to answer that. So that is the product benefit, that product is providing you what kind of features, benefits, and that is the reason you're selecting that product as part of product selection when you go with, and then you are installing TM. That is a different case. But original question, Abhinandan, I think was why shippers have TM more, right? So that is what I think it was that.
Yeah. That was the original question. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
when we are going to take an example of Airbus, correct? It is
Hmm.
going to manufacture flights also, and it is also going to transport. Both shipper scenario and LSP scenario, both are there in almost all air industries, correct?
In every industry, I would not say specifically limited to air only. So again, the basic fundamental remains same. Anybody who would intend to take care of the transportation most likely can have TM at their own end, as simple as that. So if a manufacturer, ultimately Airbus is also a manufacturing company of an Airbus,
And also it is
manufacturing airplanes.
parceling. Also it
Anything,
is
anything,
involved in LSP.
anything.
Yeah.
Okay, at least with this, we are at least thorough and we are through with what we are having. So
Will we get any PDF with the definitions and everything, Rohan?
you won't have it most likely anywhere. I think this is something which uh, uh, I'm letting you know. So you won't have any PDF. However, I'll send you this slide most likely, but not now. Once we are done with this, I think I'll upload it over the SharePoint. I think what Bhupender might provide. So not the one where we have the complete detail level definition on that, because this is something which I'm talking about based upon complete industry experience.
There was one more question on this, Rohan. I think
Yeah,
somebody,
Babu.
what is difference both PL? You can put the same line. You can write
Hmm?
that one.
Sorry.
Somebody asked the
Difference?
question, what is the difference between 3PL and 4PL
Yes,
on the chart, on the
it
chart.
was Sanjay who asked 2 and 3PL basically. So I probably told them probably in that in coming slide you would see different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5PL also. Okay, don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, first of all, so at least we are thorough and clear with what a shipper is, what a consignee is, what a carrier is, and what a 3PL is, and what do we intend with these people. Now, let's take a very simple example again. So I think we just spoke about that uh, sometime we reach out to DHL. Okay, so as just consider the shipper as in probably yourself. So probably you are a retail end user, very basic human person. So most likely you are the one who is reaching out. Okay, so you are the shipper basically. Okay, so consider that you are the one who is reaching out to DHL. So when you reach out to DHL, what happens next? First of all, just let me know your experience. Now, you want to send something to Chennai to your brother, and you now realize, and based upon your judgment, you are now reaching out to the 3PL guy, that is DHL. So what happens when you reach out to the DHL store?
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
Quantity and cost are to be calculated over there to ship it. and he is
Hmm.
going to give one receipt for us.
True. And we came back, right? So
Yes.
that is done. Okay, fine.
And we also get the tracking number.
Yeah, on that receipt, you have a tracking number. Good, Atanu. So, very true. So, most likely, when you talk about the similar kind of movement which happens, that movement happens to be with respect to that receipt. Now, you reach out to DHL, you hand over your goods, he asks some weight, volume, package, to and from location, blah blah details. You make the payment, you get the receipt, and you come back. That receipt basically contains unique tracking number, what Atanu also said, which we intend to use it for the tracking purpose, and we track. Now, this receipt that you get as part of exchange of your goods basically is called as HBL receipt. Now, first of all, have you heard about something called as HBL or house bill of lading term before? Before I talk about what it is?
Yeah, I know bill of lading, not house bill of lading.
Very correct. I was intending somebody would say that. So, what is bill of lading or BOL? Any understanding? Does not
Yeah,
necessarily have
see,
to be
whenever
correct.
we move
So,
the goods, it is like a
hmm,
just based on our experience in the industry.
yeah, yeah,
So
correct.
whenever we, it's like a manifesto, I can say that
Hmm,
what we, for example, I'm shipping, just simplest is I'm shipping some bearings, some brakes and nuts and everything in automobile industry. Before we put into the truck, we
hmm,
generate the bill of lading in the truck,
very
what are
true.
all the content goes on the truck for that package.
Very correct. Very correct. So, exactly, bill of lading is basically is a legal formal binding document which most likely helps you in understanding and providing the information what all content that you are moving in that particular carrier. And exactly as you said, most likely for once it is loaded on that particular carrier and it is being sent across, it is the very common terminology used in the shipper scenario only. So when you talk about bill of lading, it is the bill of lading or a document which is created between the shipper and a carrier altogether. And in fact, in your example also, in your cases also, this bill of lading would have been with respect to that carrier only, right?
Carrier purpose only we generate that
Correct.
only because they should know the
Only.
content where the
Very true.
customs or anybody they should know what is inside. Yeah.
Very true. And that is the same formal binding document which most likely they are also keeping. You might have seen in movies, police people are stopping probably and they're asking for the document, give me this, give me that, give me the content that you're having. So these truck guy basically share these bill of lading only. That okay, this is the company authorized set of authorized material that I'm transporting, and this is the company aspect. And this is a legal binding document that I am authorized to take care of those goods. I am not taking care of any XYZ material altogether. And that is what they check. Most likely they open the truck and they probably see and matches with the list. Unless they have some other intentions. But ideal cases with respect to the carrier only you generate that part.
Can
So
I ask
similar,
one good question, Rohan? Because
yeah, yeah,
is there
true,
any
true, true.
difference between way bill and bill of lading? I heard somewhere way bill also both are same. Am I right?
Yes, I am just exactly coming on that part only. A very, very pinch of second. I'm just coming on. It is same, so don't worry. So bill of lading, definitely the only thing is context is changing right now. So when you talk about bill of lading, the same thing is being referred over at this place. That is the one. Another thing that you have is something called as in an LSP scenario, I do not have any intersection with the carrier directly, unlike over here, right? So I am reaching out to the DHL guy. So what DHL guy is going to give me is simply a receipt that I am holding your goods. And that receipt is basically is called as house bill of lading. This house bill of lading you might also have heard about with respect to something called as
AWB.
house airway bill,
Yeah, HW.
which is also referred as AWB also sometimes. In case if your shipment is transporting via air, DHL guy will give you an HAWB number, which in turn is also common as house airway bill or airway bill, which is also referred as. Okay. And the same thing which you see probably over here is what Babu you said correctly. Way bill. Babu, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I was thinking always, most of the time, the interchange these words may be something else. Yeah.
no, it is exactly same. The only thing is the contexts are slightly different, and these two things are exactly same. So that is for sure.
In
Now,
generally it is
mhm,
Rohan. It is called. It is in standard. It is called as HBL or HWP. In business process, when I am working for Vera Logistics Limited, now it is also called as goods receipt note, GRN.
yeah.
GRN. It is consignor copy. One copy is going to be with carrier.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Uh,
yeah, definitely. I think definitely business can definitely uh,
yeah.
churn around
Separate
the
terms
things.
are there.
Yeah.
Other than
So
this.
that is a specific term. Specific business might be using, but most likely, if I talk from the perspective of system-based definition, what system is offering it to you is aligned with what we are talking right now.
Yes.
Rohan, one question here. Will
Hmm.
the HPL and the format of HBL and BOL be sort of different, and perhaps
Yes.
even the implications of those two documents?
Yes, that is the reason, because the data that you might have with respect to the carrier over here would definitely be different over here, because over here DHL guy would not tell you who is going to be driving that goods or who is the carrier entity taking that, because it is the responsibility of the carrier of DHL. So DHL simply will give you that assurance that probably I'll help you in doing that part,
Mhm.
and you go back with that receipt altogether. So that is only between you two. Okay.
So, I mean, it
Whatever
will contain
happens,
my details of my goods, whatever I'm shipping out
mhm,
over here. It will
correct.
have only that part and just have the name of
Only
Gujarat,
that part.
perhaps.
Correct. Exactly. I think if you might have done some speed post, they will
Mm-hmm.
give you some small receipt. If you would have gone to Blue Dart, they'll give you your own
Mm-hmm.
individual receipt, which they are intending for your goods only. However, they have the larger scope at their own end, because you are not the only person who is sending the goods to Chennai. They have plenty amount of people or the goods which are coming in it probably at
Oh.
their end, and they would
Mm-hmm.
be consolidating and sending it to Chennai. Okay. So definitely they have their own plans. But with respect to you, they would be issuing one receipt which is referred as your HBL altogether.
And that also has these legal implications in that.
Yes, correct. Because you might have seen some one disclaimer line probably at the bottom. So maybe you can have that thing. Now, once you hand over your goods to DHL guy, now what happens? Because you came back home with that receipt, definitely that is good. Well done. Now, what happened with your goods at the DHL end? Because we are right now aware that DHL is not the one who is actually carrying the goods. He is simply the facilitator. He is providing the services. So he is not the one who is carrying the goods. So ultimately, what he is going to do is he is going to get in touch with multiple carriers, and he's going to finalize which one is going to be the best carrier for DHL with the best rate or the time or the availability, whatsoever factor he's deciding on that carrier to pick up that carrier. And most likely, he's going to assign that particular goods of yours to the carrier. Now, ideally, it is not only your goods, so it will be somewhere I would say he'll be clubbing all those goods, and most likely he'll be then assigning it to that carrier. So just like DHL issues you a receipt, when DHL hand over the goods to the carrier, carrier also issues a receipt to DHL. Such kind of document are basically called as master bill of lading documents. Or in case if it is an air carrier, it is going to be referred as master airway bill. Okay, so if it is an air carrier, then only MAWB. Otherwise, for rest of the carrier, that is MBL only, master bill of lading document only. And this is a document which a carrier would be giving it to DHL. So your DHL guy will be having references, both the references, the one which he has issued to you, the one which he has received from the carrier altogether. Okay, so that is the reason when you ping onto DHL website and you try with your tracking number and you do not see that update, it is not the fault of DHL. It could be the fault of DHL, but it could be also the case that he might not have received an update against his MBL that he is having with the carrier, and against that he is probably he's not updating over here. That could have been the reason as well. Okay. Right. So that is how it basically refers, and most likely this is going to be the same thing which I have probably mentioned altogether over here. Able to realize that part?
Yes.
Yes, Rohan.
Yes, Rohan, go ahead.
Okay, fine. So most likely, so that is where it is. So maybe before I move further, maybe you can let me know in case if any questions are there probably in this slide before we move further. And I think before we even move further, I think we are touching the half time most likely. So in case if no questions are there, most likely we can have a break.
Just one thing.
Hmm.
Can we, like, when we had this content is given out, can we include such examples also, you know, in the slides or whatever, so that it becomes much easier to quickly refer to what was being discussed?
I'll probably send this particular notepad altogether,
Yeah, sure.
notepad file that
Great.
that's the reason I'm writing it out, so that probably
Okay,
it
that'd be
goes,
helpful. Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
it
helpful.
goes with you guys, so that let me write it out day one kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that will be easier.
And if it's like, club alongside the, or perhaps in the notes at the bottom somewhere, if you add that, it becomes a little easier
Sure, sure.
in the PPT itself, perhaps.
Okay.
Or even
Probably
as
that would
as
be
a
a lot
separate
to,
attachment.
yeah, that would be a lot to add up probably in the PPT, but yeah, I think you guys will have the access of recordings, right? Or not? Yeah, I think you will be having. Let's see.
Sure,
Probably.
sure.
I'll make sure.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
Good to hear the voices. So let's probably go ahead with the slide. And most likely, let's talk about another term, most likely that we might have heard about or might not have. I'll talk about it, which is called as Incoterm. So, any idea about this Incoterm that you might have heard about? Since most of us are having good background from SD area, most likely we might have heard about, right?
So, in quote terms, in terms of the for freighting, who is the responsible, regarding for cost? So, who will be suppose any consignee we need to send from the Bangalore to China. So, from warehouse to airport, yeah, airport to airport. Maybe some EX depends on the income terms. That who is the payer? Final, yeah, with the all like that it is coming, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Basically,
Anybody
it is
else have?
terms of delivery, and also based on the terms of delivery, the cost to shipper will vary. So it basically and it is also internationally accepted terms of delivery basically. So X works or
Mm-hmm.
CFRs or DELs, and they primarily determine the you know who is bearing the cost and whether it is built in the product cost sector.
Okay. Slightly better. Okay.
International commercial terms are the terms which are globally recognized as commercial terms between the both the parties legally.
Okay. And what does they do, if I may ask, legally?
They are like EXW, Xworks, they
Mm-hmm.
are going to pick it, or free on board until up to
Mm-hmm.
ship. Those terms are, if we are going to mention, then until up to that responsibility belongs to shipper or consignee or consignor.
Okay.
Generally,
Fine.
it's a cost related, who is the paying the cost. For example, I am telling. So, suppose any consignment need to
Mm-hmm.
move. For example, depends on the mode of transport. Okay, suppose consignment is going to the. We need to involve two or three lanes, like from road, from logistic, from warehouse to airport. One truck we need to use. Okay, from air to air there. After that, from
Mm-hmm.
air to who is the receiver, right? Customer. So there is some cost rating. So sometime is the X
Correct.
work, no need to pay. Sometime is the
Mm-hmm.
free carrier arrival, like that. It's
Correct.
there.
Very true. Very true. Exactly. So when you talk about exactly on the pay part, this Incoterms are exactly related to those only. So let me talk about that. Incoterms are basically nothing but an abbreviation of international commercial terms, as what you see in the screen. These are defined and designed by another international body called as ICC. ICC means International Chamber of Commerce. International Chamber of Commerce has designed lot many trade and commerce related, you know, terminologies, rules, regulatory compliances, and all. They have also designated one thing also, which is called as Incoterms. Now, what does this Incoterm talks about? They have come up with some 11 or 12 Incoterms which are legally binded, which talks about who is going to pay for those set of activities which are being performed in your transportation world. So now when I talk about Xworks, DDP, DAP, FOB, all these, they actually signify who is going to pay for the kind of services that I'm using in my transportation business. So ultimately, when you talk about these services, somebody has to pay for that. All these services are categorized and mapped to a certain Incoterm altogether. So when I talk about a certain Incoterm, I intend to map through the kind of services which I am onboarding. For example, in a business, there are 10 services which I'm using. Now, it could be like loading on a truck, export declaration, import declaration, insurance, import taxes, clearances, and all blah blah things. So you have thousand amount of services basically. Okay. So these services, I am opting 10 services in my business. And since I'm opting 10 services in my business decides that, okay, 5 services you are going to pay, 5 services I'm going to pay. And based upon that, they are going to, match it up with the international chart. This is a chart which keeps on revising on an annual basis. Okay, so it is not something which is the fixed chart. This chart keeps on revising on an annual basis by including lot many additional services which keeps on adding on an annual basis. Like for example, AI is included right now. So if any AI related services are being offered by someone, probably who has to pay for that. So ultimately, all these are the services which signifies who is going to pay for that, and accordingly you identify and you come up with this term as an FOB. So in our general purpose of using these Incoterms, we simply go and use FOB, DDP, XWorks, just like taking care that you have been told to do so and you mention that. And that is what we do altogether up till now. Same thing, the decision making, which FOB, which Incoterm, whether it has to be FOB, XWorks, FCA, this decision is basically taken care by the business altogether. So that's the reason if business says that you are using FOB, you have to use FOB. You cannot simply by yourself come up with your thoughts, okay, today I'll try with DDP or DAP. You cannot take that decision. Why? Because it is a part of business to describe and determine what kind of Incoterm that they are using, and according to that business, you are going to only use that Incoterm only. And these Incoterms are the ones which actually help you in designating that. Okay, so if I'm going for XWorks, everything has to be paid by the buyer. If it has to be via DDP, everything has to be paid by the seller or the shipper, basically, to talk about. Okay,
It's
and
all
this
as
is,
an agreement, isn't it? I mean, between the buyer and the
yes,
seller that way.
yes, this all happens during the very initial discussion and at the time when things really starts. So it is all taken care at that point of time itself. And that's the reason when an order gets generated and it comes to you, you are simply going ahead with most of the things which are pre-declared and defined altogether by the business only.
Just one question here.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if we say, like, the seller is, sort of going to bear the goods of these, is he not going to be adding these costs directly, in the, what do we say, in the initial charges itself then?
That
Or
is
he has
the
to,
exact same thing. That
yeah.
is the exact same thing that I was about to talk about. That
Okay.
if you remember that Amazon example that we spoke about,
Mhm.
same product, if you are buying from some different seller, it
Mhm.
might be of 120 rupees, but if the same product I am buying from another seller, it might be of 100 rupees. Have you noticed that kind of differentiation?
Yep.
Why do we have that differentiation? Product is costing 100 rupees altogether, but why they are charging you such kind of differentiated amounts?
The transportation aspect problems.
Right. So when you probably go for the final billing and payment and pay to Amazon, Amazon will say that okay, 100 rupees is for the transportation charges, 100 rupees is for the handling charges, 100 rupees is for XYZ charges. They all are dependent based upon the Incoterm that they are having. If a seller is very big, he might waive off that particular charge for you because he would have been paying that for you. It could have been DDP as an Incoterm that he might have been using in his own system. That seller is paying everything. Some cases, it could have been XWorks. Maybe like you're buying something from um, some player. Maybe like he would like you to pay all the additional charges. Like 10 rupees is 20, 30 rupees is your transportation fees or XYZ fees. You pay that. So basically, it all depends upon what kind of services that are required for that particular product to get transported and who is going to pay for that. And that is how the differences in the amount you will be getting to see in any of the places. Like it is not only Amazon only, even offline channels also have the same thing. So ultimately, that is the same thing which is being decided based upon the kind of services which are included and who pays for that services.
One other aspect over here is, in being like, in the cost being as a integral part of whatever, the final costing that, or whatever price has been put forward to the customer, and the other being exclusively declaring these charges. So, like, that is what I was trying to understand in this case.
but they might not give you the exact breakup of that charges, that even if I'm charging XYZ amount for handling, that what all charges are
Mhm.
to be included and at which level of these charges are there. Maybe 10 rupees I'm charging from you, but 2 rupees might go for loading, 2 rupees might go for export declaration, 1 rupee might go for unloading. If I talk about the breakup of that 10, you might
Mhm.
not know that part, and even if it is there, you might not be able to see that who is basically bearing that part.
Well, the seller, when he's, saying that I'll be paying for all these facilities,
Hmm.
not explicitly declare, or how would it be? Would it be that that
He definitely would be knowing, because ultimately the one
no
who
declaring it?
is yeah, he might not declare it to you basically,
Okay.
because you don't have that you don't need basically. Okay, so you are least liable to understand whether you take it for loading purpose, or you do it for declaration purpose, or you do take it for insurance purpose. If it is costing rupees 10 rupees more to you, you will straight away move to somebody else altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for an end user like me, for a buyer, for a consignee, it is least case, like whatever you're charging me more. As simple as that. I don't want to go with you, as simple as that. So it is
Okay.
basically the seller who is trying to adjust somewhere in the cost, in the transportation, somewhere in wave offs that he is getting off to get it done altogether.
Okay. And just present one final amount to the end
To the
buyer.
end user, yeah, that this is something which you have to pay. Most likely once you go for the payment, you get to see the breakup, like this is the MRP of the good, this
Mm-hmm.
is the transportation cost, this is the platform fees, this is this fees,
Mm-hmm.
this is that fees, and that is how 10 rupees, 100 rupees good becomes 150 to you basically.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Rohan, actually, this discussion is going to happen when the buyer is going to do the request for quotation. At that time, it is going to happen only. No?
uh this happens at very yeah, initial level only, when
Yeah,
you
purchase
agree.
purchase
Yeah,
requisition is going to be created. After that, he is going to submit his quotations. At that time, he is going to give the entire his Incoterms seller.
yeah, so whatsoever gets
Buyer
agreed.
is also giving his
Yeah,
Incoterms at that time. Correct?
yeah, so at that point of time only it gets finalized, that probably what has to be done and what has to be finalized and what we have to follow for the entire course of time or duration whatsoever we are going to.
Between inquiry and quotation time, it is going to happen. These Incoterms are going to come. Correct?
Yeah, 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 initial discussions, correct, same time.
Generally it's
We'll have
agreement
multiple Incoterms or
seller
only
and
one
buyer only,
Incoterm will
right,
be there in
Rohan?
the sales order.
Not in the sales order, most likely. I am not talking from the perspective of the sales order. Incoterms can be used in any other platform. In sales order you have it, very correct, and
But also in
also in
purchase order also.
every other, maybe like in TM also we are having Incoterms. So we are least bothered with the different other modules where it is being used, but in TM also similar kind of stuff is there. Once we'll get into system, we'll see, and probably we are going to maintain that. But the decision making criteria is irrespective of the system, that whether I'm going to use FOB, Xworks, it is not something based upon what I mention in my purchase requisition or some specific document in specifically.
It is
And
not to be
Rohan, that could
mandatory
be
over there. It is not to be mandatory in SD and MM, but it is mandatory in TM.
It is mandatory. It is the
Incoterms is mandatory in TM.
And Rohan, that Incoterms could be different. I mean, like whatever Incoterms are there for in sales order for a customer,
Mhm.
that the Incoterms and the Incoterms which you are applying in TM,
Hmm.
those could be different, or that needs to
No,
be one and the same. Like
it has to be in line. So overall, basically, again, it is independent of the module altogether. It is a business dependent decision. So if business says it has to be like that, it has to be like that. So
So
independent
Rohan,
of.
you mean to say in is it TMR, SDR, MM, whatever Incoterms should take from the customer itself, right? Like customer or vendor, someone, right? Not from the ship perspective of carrier or somebody, right? If I'm not wrong. Especially in TM, it's a customer
Both the
Incoterms.
parties, I would say, both the parties
Okay, then
cohesively decides and then
uh,
find out that okay,
suppose
probably
if there
five.
are two kinds of Incoterms,
Hmm,
EXW and FCA, the services
hmm,
first three will be paid by the seller, next service will be paid by the
hmm.
buyer. Is something like that, or how it correlates?
Yes, that is how it probably decides that probably what all services first of suppose this is a global chart. Okay, so I have thousand of services listed down over here. This is a global chart.
Mhm.
I intend to only use three services most likely in my business. In my business means I am talking to.
So
And
all the
out of
services may
those,
not be used. Only the
yeah,
first two and the
only,
last bottom can be used. Depends
yes.
upon the service.
Now,
Okay.
now these three services which I am using, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
I am only using loading. I am using loading charges for export and insurance services.
Okay.
Now, I decide that I means we both decide that okay, uh, who is going to pay for that? You pay or I pay? So suppose we make out some fact, and maybe some statistical and quantifiable decisions are there both the sides,
How
and
system comes
I
to know
decide
any configuration, or it's like just
no,
like
no, no. It is not a system. It is again a business dependent decision only. You simply maintain those Incoterms in your systems altogether. So in fact, there is no, in fact, calculation or decision making criteria in your any of your systems. No, even in TM or in any of your systems that you talk about.
So
okay.
that's why Rohan, on time out of buying on there na performa invoice they are given like that. So this is your final cost for the product, and this is the transportation cost. And suppose if consignment is moving from the internet crossing the international, so there is some duty amount, all things there. Then they
Correct,
will be responsible for the freight forwarding because they have a
correct,
license only for the
correct.
particular specific that product.
And that
So
is the reason all those
yeah.
additional charges are already taken into account that okay, if it is an international shipment, so most likely I'll have to pay the export declaration cost also. Then who's paying
Correct.
that? If seller is paying, maybe just like for example, if I am buying a Ferrari, most likely Ferrari is costing X amount, but if you talk about importing a Ferrari, it becomes more than 50% of that original amount of that car itself. So if I am, so to me as an end user, it becomes 1.5x of that amount. So that is the reason, because Ferrari says you take care of all the goods, all the things at your own end. So that 50% additional amount that you're paying for that Ferrari is you have to pay. And that's the reason you don't have much Ferraris in India. Only few people are there, like Sachin Tendulkar is having, and couple of more are having. Okay, so and specifically if I talk about Sachin, it was made tax free altogether, duty free altogether for him. So effectively, it was X amount only. Okay, so by the Maharashtra government. So this is yeah, keeping that aside. So ultimately, it has to be decided by the two entities, businesses only, that who is going to pay for that amount altogether, and based upon that, the Incoterm comes into picture.
Hi, Rohan. Can I just ask one question here? Nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
with Incoterm.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
as we say that in MM or in SD, the cycle begins from inquiry, ends in billing.
Hmm.
Now, where from exactly the, because why I'm asking this, Incoterm is referred in the sales order.
Hmm.
So, where exactly you refer this particular Incoterm as far as the TM is concerned? So, where TM begins, which is why
Uh,
I'm asking this.
TM usually begins most likely, as in when we proceed further, you would see that part.
Uh-huh.
But just to address your query, most likely, TM begins its journey most likely. If I talk from the shipper scenario point of view, it begins its journey from the sales order or a purchase order, basically any ERP document, and then
Mm-hmm.
it comes into TM. Most likely, when you talk about from an LSP case, you don't need an ERP altogether because it is independent right now. It is just DHL only which is having TM. So it starts with something called as an forwarding order altogether. That we'll talk about what it is, but it starts its journey basically from this place. Within TM itself, you have a forwarding order. There you maintain that Incoterm.
So that is a sales order is referred here, right? Or no?
Sales order is referred over in this case.
Sales order as well the purchase orders depends on
Yeah.
the
Ha,
depends on the
depends on that, right?
yeah
Hmm, hmm,
depends on
hmm.
Because see, in code terms generally, because just we are talking about the in terms of the transport, right? Once we are going for the shipment document, we need to create once time of creating shipment document. Yeah, in terms of once service has been done from the forwarding agent like DHL or third party courier, that time you need to pay. We need to see which is the Incoterms they have the given on time of delivery. Initially, initially Incoterms has been decided.
Correct. It
So
is very initial level
yeah,
altogether. So that is what how it decides, and that is the same thing which is being followed across the businesses. Even the systems which you are using, SD, TM, FI, all follow the same stuff altogether. So it is not something that you get something changed at due course of time. It is all pre-decided and predefined altogether. That's the reason you use the same which is guided to you. You do not simply at wake of time you change it at at your will. You would have seen that. So if somebody is using FOB, you tend to copy the same and use FOB everywhere
and
for that respective partner.
that's why. So once time of creating a shipment cost documents, on that one is a very important role for the Incoterms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That's good. Now, talking about another term that we might not or we might have heard about, that is somewhere talking from the perspective of the container. First of all, would like to understand on the term as in container, what would you understand, or do you have any idea what a container is?
Yes, Rohan.
What it is?
That one is a full container in the sense consignment moving from the vessels like that. Yeah, any truck full vessel through the like by the sea. Any so once time of
Mhm.
moving the shipment through
Mhm.
the sea, you can say in the vessels. So full container. Suppose
Okay.
from port to port, from Chennai port to the any other ports. Port to port, we need to full container, full
Okay.
carry.
Okay. Okay. You're going far with including two, three more additional stuff, but fine. Um, Anybody else have some understanding on container?
Simply, a container consists of
Container
different
is a
racks and
structure.
everything.
Container is a one of the equipment which is going to transfer from source location to destination location. It is only a container.
Correct.
It is one of the equipment. We are going
Okay.
to call it as.
Correct. And I hope pretty much we are aware about what a container is and how does it look like, right? So if you guys are not aware, most likely these are what we are terming as a container and kind of container that we are talking about. So when I say container, it actually talks about this kind of standard size container which you talk about what it is. And most likely this is the same thing which we are using from the perspective of ocean transportation only. Because you might have seen these containers moving on rails, moving on roads, right?
Yes.
But these are not meant for the rail or road transportations altogether. These are meant to be transported on oceans, basically on a shipping vessels. We don't call it as ships also. Okay. So if I would tell you that this is how it might get loaded altogether. This is a shipping vessel. You don't call it as a ship. Okay. So these containers are loaded onto the shipping vessels, and these vessels are actually carrying those n number of containers altogether. And these containers are of two types. That is what I intend to talk about over here. That is full container load and less than container load. And as the name suggests, full container, it talks about when your container is completely occupied. Now, uh, to talk about that, let me give you a very simple example to understand that part. Let's take two cases. Okay, one container capacity is 1 kg, and one container is carrying 1 kg of iron, and another container is containing 1 kg of cotton. Okay. Now, which of them, container 1 or container 2, which of them you would refer and call it as full container load? Container capacity is 1 kg. Container 1 contains 1 kg of iron, container 2 contains 1 kg of cotton.
Both are
Then
similar
volume is
location.
going to come into a picture when we are going to consider the cotton with iron.
Okay. Anybody else?
That
Yeah, I'm
both
thinking
are called as
exactly.
full
Go
container
ahead,
loads,
Sanjay.
but
Go ahead, Sanjay. Yeah.
Can you repeat
Okay.
once again, Rohan? What you did?
Okay. So I was talking about your container capacity is 1 kg. Okay. So when I say full container load means what? 1 kg that your container capacity that you are having, that thing. Case 1. Container 1 is containing 1 kg of iron and container 2 is containing 1 kg of cotton. Okay. So both are 1 kgs. It is completely containing that load altogether. So would you say this as a full container load kind of a case or not? So that is where Sanjay was saying something.
Your capacity is
it is
1
full
kg.
container load. It is full
Yes, we
container.
can say
Hmm.
as per
Okay.
pointers load capacity we can say because fully occupied by the weight and by the volume wise also.
Okay. 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 Uh, but don't you think the volume occupied by 1 kg of cotton would be more than 1 kg of iron?
But that is a different container, am I right? Cotton is carrying different one container, iron is
Mhm.
carrying. As long as that is a fully occupied, as long as you're not able to load more, that is called
Mhm.
whether 1 kg. Sometimes you can measure in volume, liquid you measure in volume,
Mhm.
whereas the some other things you measured in the kgs and everything. That is the difference.
Okay. Okay. And that is where this confusion lies. And that is the reason I probably brought this point altogether. When I talk about a full container load, it is often mistaken with the similar kind of assumptions that we are taking right now. Now, when we talk about a full container load, we never measure it with respect to the weight of the goods that I am loading in that container. Weight is never the criteria altogether. It is always the volumetric capacity that a container can carry is considered for the full, for measuring whether it is a full container load or a less than container load altogether. So maybe the container can carry 1 kg of weight, well and good, fine. But if it is occupying the complete volumetric space of your container, that is where I'll talk about and call this as a one full container load altogether. And why? Because I cannot go, because my volumetric capacity is limited. So that is the reason I would measure most likely volumetric capacity over here as at a primary level. And that's the reason my maybe like this capacity can be my weight can be like, if it is 1 kg of weight that it can hold, it can have 1.1 1.2 also, or it can be 800 grams also. But volumetric capacity basically depends on the the full
Okay.
container load basically depends upon the space that you're occupying based upon the volumetric capacity. So when I say full container load, I am particularly talking about volumetric capacity at a primary level. Then you talk about rest of the other capacity levels altogether. So wherever you hear full container load, that means we are talking about the volumetric capacity of that container, and you might have several types of containers altogether. Reefer container, standard container, oil containers, refrigerated containers, several type of containers are available in the market altogether. But they all focus upon one more basic thing is volumetric capacity. So 1 kg of iron, 1 kg of cotton, if I have 1 kg of container capacity side, will not be able to justify that part until unless I specify that what amount of volume that that container can hold.
Same way, the weights also correct. Containers may have a weight limit because of the cranes that
Very true.
recommended.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Very true. So in most of the times, wherever you would see it is always considered volumetric space at most of the times. Whatever you transport, most likely the very first criteria would be a volume, then that comes at a later space, like of a size, dimension, weight, and all other stuffs. Okay, so whenever we talk about a full container, it is complete space that I'm occupying. If it is a partial
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
space I'm occupying, that probably will be referred as less than container load case altogether. So LCL is meant for the less than container load case. FCL is full container load case.
Okay, so coming to your example, Rohan, I can say that 1 kg cotton is not a full container. I mean, sorry.
I cannot decide on that.
Okay.
Very true.
Okay.
Right. So until unless I get to understand that container volume, what is the container volume? Maybe like it is 1000 cubic meter. And if that is the space, and if that 1 kg of cotton is of near about like 1000 kg, 1000 cubic meter, then I would say, yeah, it is
Full
fine.
container.
Full container. So if 1 kg of cotton is simply occupying, I would say I'm packing it into 5000 cubic meter space. So probably it is not a full container then in that case, because the container capacity is still 4000 cubic meters still is empty. Just like I think you might have seen when you buy a car, your boot space is being measured in liters, right? It does not give you the weight that your boot can carry in your car, right?
Yeah.
So it is 500 liters, 600 liters. Basically, it is just because of the same, because it is talking about the volumetric space that you are being given in the boot. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Because it is very relatable with your boot, car boot. So that's the reason. Okay. Moving on with the similar kind of category. So just like you have a containers which are used in an ocean space, in similar case, when you talk about in the road scenarios, you would have the trucks which are going to get considered. And these trucks are basically referred from the perspective of road transportation. And the similar concept of volume is considered over here as well. And that's the reason you would have similar kind of definition over here, which talks about full truckload and less than truckload cases only. However, if you talk about in India, you might see overloaded trucks also, which are also going in. That is a different case altogether. But ideal case is the volume of that truck, which it is capable of handling. Right? I think in India, you might have seen a lot many overloaded trucks as well. So that is, however, government is curbing on that, such kind of things as well. But yeah, in other countries, it is even not allowed by industries as well to depart from their end. So even that is restricted. So that is how it is.
India perhaps has its own TM.
Yeah, correct. So whatever rules you say, they probably bypass everything. So that is how it is. So even if India would have been using containers, probably they might have been open-ended containers altogether.
Can put 200.
Correct. Okay, now any idea on this term called as Drage? Drage, if at some point of time you might have heard about.
So, Rohan, I have a question. Suppose a lorry contains 2 containers. If it is one and a half container, that is not a full truckload. It's less than truckload or less than
No.
container.
Again, lorry that contains a truck, it is not a lorry that contains a container. It is not a truck. First of all, it is a trailer that I'll talk about once we'll move further in the system, where you'll see those truck and trailer kind of stuff. You'll get to understand that is a trailer. Okay, so don't get confused with that. So if you're talking about those containers are like these only. These are loaded onto your lorries. Basically, those are trailers. Okay, those are not trucks. Trucks are those trucks which you have seen in our streets, like Tata trucks. It can be small, big,
Only
long.
one
That is a
container
different
truck
thing.
has, right? If when I'm saying in the road, so only one truck has one container only. Is that can we consider?
No, you don't call that as a container altogether. Container is this only. So when you talk about a truck, so it is a truck like this, just like how you see this Tata truck altogether. So it is not it is not a container. It is a fixed thing. The one which you are talking about most likely is like somewhat like this thing, lorry stuff. So this lorry stuff is not a truck altogether.
So
It
this is
is a
called as
it is a
a
trailer.
trailer. Okay,
Trailer.
understand. Trailer.
Okay, so that will talk about how it get differentiated with a truck once we'll get into the system altogether. But since you asked this, but good, people get clarified altogether. Okay, so this is not a truck. This is the truck that we are talking about. Okay, so this is what it is.
This is transport equipment and vehicle is like one piece, one resource.
One piece, yeah, one
One,
unit altogether.
yeah.
True.
So,
So
Now,
Drage is the
huh,
Rohan,
shipping from
if
the
you go back to
warehouse
picture,
into
the
the
red
port.
one where you pointing that is a trailer, am I right? We can't call them that. Oh, yeah,
yes,
that is a
yes,
trailer. Yeah,
this is a trailer. Very correct. This red one is a trailer, and this one is a truck, basically.
yeah, that is in Indian image.
Okay. Yeah, I think Lobo, I think you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying Drage is moving the goods from warehouse into the port. That's called Drage.
Mm,
Is it not?
yeah. Okay. Okay. I can still take it because this is very limited usage. That is the reason. So, uh, very not many people might not know. That's the reason. But good attempt. When I say Drage basically it is a trucking services which is pertaining particular to the uh, port locations. You might have seen such kind of lorry based movement of a truck, movement of this container, because when you talk about in a port locations you have lot many stacks of containers just like you see like this, like containers which are about to leave the port location you'll stack it in one location, containers which are empty they'll put it in one place, containers which are about to get filled up in one place. So most likely you need some specific services of a trucking services specifically which can help you in moving those containers to and from within that port location only. And such kind of case, if you will be implementing TM for any port authorities, most likely, so you would get to realize and you'll get to see only in those cases itself. Otherwise, if you talk about in a general sense, you'll never hear this dryage as a term. But if you'll be working from a port perspective, if a port authority is implementing TM, there you would get to see this only. So this term is specifically used only for moving the containers from one place to another place within the port location only. Okay, because these kind of objects cannot move. These are only meant to like cranes, forklifts. They simply help you in moving for a very shorter distance. They're lifting and shifting kind of goods. But ultimately, if I want to travel, because ports are very large, so you probably have to move kilometers, a number of kilometers to dump one container, come back, and then probably take it further. So such kind of services are basically referred as dry services. So most likely just letting you know, because I would say it is only 1%. In fact, in my career span only, I have only touch based on such segment in port authorities for a very limited period of time. But most of the place you might not hear. But if you hear something, you should be aware that what a dryage means basically.
So, Rohan, this Drage, will it also have that fork kind of a capacity wherein that fork lift? Uh,
No,
that's
that will
completely
be
different.
taken care by this forklift guy or a handling resource basically like this, like cranes or with that like these kind of
Mm,
devices altogether.
correct, correct, correct.
So the truck guy probably will be coming over here like this, and definitely these small moving vehicles will come and pick up the truck and probably
From the
dump it
truck, it
over
will
here.
pick and drop it
Dump
over
it over
there.
here, yeah.
So, Okay, so Drage is just that green one, basically.
Trucking
Which is
service, yeah.
this
Trucking
trucking
service,
one.
basically, yeah.
So then, in that sense, is it not something like a trailer also then?
Yes, so it could be truck, it could be a trailer which can do that part. I'm talking about the services basically. Dryage is a service. Okay, trucking service. So usually in some
Rohan,
places,
Rohan, we can say as a assets, Drage, we can say as a assets, which is provide the safety to the any product like that. I think we can say Drage.
safety to the product.
Asset asset purpose I am taking. So movement for the goods, any goods, suppose any yeah, safety purpose we can use like asset of the transport we are using generally.
No, I would not say and recommend that to have that kind of understanding. But uh, it is more aligned from the perspective of uh, within port
Port
transportation,
services.
basically. Yeah, that's the reason.
It is
Probably I
like you
would
are
say.
moving, you're using forklift within our warehouse. They are
Yeah,
using the bigger way. Yeah.
correct. You can say it in that way. Just like you are you are rearranging your goods probably within a space altogether. Same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Now, any thoughts on this another term called as ULD? Heard about anything in
Unit
your
load, unit loader. It
yeah?
is unit
Other than Sanjay, maybe anybody?
which is going to be used in
Uh,
airports to load
uh,
the
Other than you,
containers.
if somebody else. Okay, so right. So that probably what Sanjay said most likely is almost on the same line. Uh, when you talk about the container basically is talking about from the perspective of your ocean. Trucks, most likely truck, trailer, whatever you are using, you are talking from the perspective of the road transportation. In the similar manner, you have rail, so you have a rail car altogether. You don't have any option over there. It is only a rail. Probably in air, you have something called as ULDs, which are transported. You don't have a container, you don't have a truck, so definitely you cannot load that big container altogether in your airplane. So there is something called as ULD. What is ULD? ULD is unit load devices. Okay, you might have seen such kind of small boxes which are loaded onto the trucks. Sorry, on the planes. Maybe you might have visited via you might have gone through planes definitely at some point of time, and you might have seen some cargo planes being loaded with some small boxes. Have you ever seen such kind of case?
At the what you are the next to that, yeah, that triangular one I'm able to see in the airports, yeah, many times, yeah.
Correct. So these are the ones which are loaded onto the air cargo planes most likely. And these are a very lightweight material design, unlike what you are talk about the containers which are very hefty and very big. And these are basically designed from the perspective of air cargo planes and one third or one fourth of the capacity of your container altogether. So you can say these four combined together to form one container if you talk about. Okay, so these are very lightweight material designed objects which are of different types altogether. Definitely you have a refrigerated ULD, you have vacuum ULD, you have different kind of ULDs which are there. These are loaded onto your air cargo planes, which are of very lightweight design, and these are most likely very lightweight like this, very slightly like this, and most likely these are loaded onto your planes like this, very lightweight material design. These are built as per the cargo planes altogether because they don't go with your regular planes. You have a specific cargo planes like Airbuses, like specific cargo planes are there. Based upon that, these ULDs are designed. Now, these ULDs can be bought by airlines or these can be on rent as well, depending upon how the aircraft operations goes. It can be taken care, but in airlines, you might be transporting it via ULDs only. So whenever you'll be working in an air kind of a case, in air businesses, if you talk about, a lot many airlines also have implemented TM. So you might be seeing things from the perspective of ULDs which are carrying the goods, unlike container in ocean, truck in road, and that is how your businesses goes.
So you brought a good point, Rohan. For
Mm-hmm,
example, I'm moving my goods from my
mm-hmm,
shipping location to somebody. It is by air
mm-hmm,
transport. So
hmm.
we have to pack them and keep in the shipper in the ULD, or after reaching to the airport, they repack them again into ULDs.
Yes, so that is where it depends again on how the movements are being planned. Is it a straight movement, or it is some sort of consolidated movement? If it
Hmm.
is a straight or a direct movement, maybe I would prefer to have those ULDs uh, coming to my warehouses, and I'll put up those goods just like I'm putting up in the containers, and on probably on roads you might have seen your big containers moving directly to the port locations.
Hmm.
One of
Yeah,
the way,
otherwise, see, from my warehouse, I can put
yeah,
into ULD that goes to the
in
airport. They will
in
give you a
some, yeah,
shipment.
or
Yeah.
probably you dump it in your via truck only, and truck comes into my port location, I deconsolidate and probably repack the goods in ULD, and probably it goes to another packing side, and that is how it gets delivered. So again, it
Hmm.
probably depends how your business operation goes, but either of the things are fine. So whatever, but ultimately it is, you have to take a call how it has to be done. But if you talk from the air point of view, ultimately either it gets packed at the initial point, or it gets packed at the airport, but it will get packed in a ULD only, because your air cargo
Yeah.
cannot take your containers altogether, because I have to fly. I don't have to swim across. So that's the reason.
These are on the wheels, am I right? These are on the wheels. They go in the rack, like fixed
Yeah, yeah.
guided ones. I think looks like they're guided ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are probably on the wheels. These goes to, these places,
Inside the
and
rails will be there.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you have
Somewhere
one.
you showed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
lifting mechanism is also there like this. Okay, so these probably gets lifted, and probably these automated wheel, just like you have your luggage carrier belt is there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Conveyor belt
Yeah.
is there. The same thing is there. Belt actually moves, and actually it loads on. I think there was one,
One picture
this
you showed. Yeah. Yeah.
automated,
Look
yeah,
like the rails. Yeah.
this,
They're all rails. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
this automated wheels are there. Some of them are automatically, LED based strips are there. So the relevant ULDs get stuck onto that position itself altogether. So I think there was one good image, clear image was there. So this kind of image, this, okay. So this contains lot many things over here, and these red ones are the ones which are holding these items in the similar manner. But yeah, and depends again. If you're working
One
from a
question,
business air,
one question, Rohan.
yes, Sanjay.
Drage is a truck service that moves containers to and fro from a port location. Okay, as per
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
definition.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But one, we are going to come to a coal or cement industries. Then we
Hmm.
are going to transport it together by land only, by not by a truck, by a train also. Correct? Goods, goods vehicle.
Yeah, so definitely train is one of the mechanism. So
Also
that is true.
dryage is also used for that term.
Generally, it is not used. It is particularly what I would say it is used from the port perspective only, because for rails you have a different mechanisms, and dryage is not that word which is used over there. So that is the
Because
reason I would not say. But yeah, similar kind of services is done in most of the places. Okay, so that's the reason I didn't said anything specifically for the road and the air altogether, and even the rail. So anything, because similar thing you will be also be doing in the air also. Similar thing you'll also be doing in the road also.
yes, yes.
But this is specifically is a term which is used in port authorities altogether. That is the reason I specifically told you.
No, no, no. We may use here train also, no? If it is nearest to our
No.
dump yard, then because we are again loading and unloading is not going to happen in a port, no, it is directly going to a vessel, correct? Drage.
Drage is a service basically. So it is not a vehicle to talk about specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. So that service could be a trucking service. Now if you talk about in a air case, it could be some different service which might be opting. But that's the reason I said there is no specific drage as a term which is used in other than what is being used in your ocean case.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
Altogether. Similar services are being used definitely, but not that exact term. That is the reason I quoted this time.
Okay, thanks, Rohan.
Okay.
And in TM, Rohan, we learn all these three mode of transportation.
All, yeah, correct. We'll talk about all. So most likely I'll be clubbing all those in a specific scenario so that you get to see a breadth of all basically.
Okay.
Now, this is where, which was the favorite question, which we were talking about, and that is what we intend to talk about since beginning. So talking about different kind of party logistic system. Now, when I talk about different kind of party logistic system, it is a very broad concept to talk about. And most likely your entire discussion with respect to TM would be confined with 2 and 3PL altogether. But it is not something limited only to these two kind of party logistic systems. It talks about different other party logistic systems which are also existing in your ecosystem of your logistics area. Now let's talk about these logistics ecosystem. Now let's talk about 1PL. Now let me take a very simple example of that 1PL. Now 1PL, as I said, PL is nothing but a party logistic system. So when I talk about 1PL, so it means one party logistic system. And if I talk about one party who is responsible for that particular movement, I would say very small example. For example, I talk about a farmer who is sowing the seeds. He's the same guy who is harvesting the crops. He's the same guy who is also selling in front of his house. Okay. This is a very simple example which we might also have seen in our day-to-day cases. So if I talk from the perspective of 1PL, starting from production up till delivery of goods, everything is handled by one single entity altogether, which is the farmer itself. And that is where we'll talk about and we'll say that, okay, it is a 1PL transportation or 1PL case. Now, when you talk about this 1PL, it is having very limited context. That is basically based upon the geography, because you are doing the farming at the same place, you are selling the goods at the same place itself. Now, suppose Sanjay came into that farmer and probably he asks and says, probably you farmer, your goods are very good. Your fruits and vegetables, whatever you are doing, it is very good. So why don't you sell it to the cities? Probably you'll get a better market. Maybe that farmer would think, okay, let's try it out. But right now, farmer is the only person who is managing this entire production up till delivery altogether by himself. If he goes to cities to sell the goods, then who's going to do the production part, farming part? And hence the business came up with one more additional expansion that, okay, if I want to send out to the cities, let me hire somebody who can do that for me simply by moving the goods from farm location to the city location. And that is how another partner or another party gets introduced in my business entity. That is carrier. And that is how this 2PL business came into picture. And when I talk about 2PL businesses, definitely it is talking about the same example, same thing, just like what we are talking about. Farmer and another entity is your carrier who is actually delivering the consignment altogether. And this is the same example what we exactly spoke about over here. That a shipper who is trying to manage the TM system, who is trying to manage the transportation at his own with the help of transportation management system at his own end by reaching out to the carrier and doing the same entity over this place. Now, I grew my business. Now, for example, it is probably in the cities. I got a good feedback. Most likely, I got some orders from multiple cities. Now, for example, I am getting orders from Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and all. I have two options right now. Probably I'll check with my carrier whether can you deliver it to all these 5-6 cities. He'll say yes, I'll deliver, but it'll take me 20 days to get it delivered over that place. And hence, by the 20 days, maybe the demand is not there, or maybe the goods that I'm trying to transport is, is the perishable goods. They might not stay in the same condition and the freshness. What do I do? So maybe my carrier would suggest, okay, you onboard 5-6 more carriers. Now that is a troublesome for a farmer to manage 5-6 carriers. And hence the concept of 3PL came into the market. Because anyhow, if I have 5 packages, it will be easier for me to go to DHL at once and give my 5-6 packages to DHL instead reaching out to 5-6 different carriers and having my packages given to them. And that is the reason the concept of 3PL came into the picture, where they are providing the logistics support and services to you, where it is their headache to transport. So what I would do, I as an end user, I am not managing my own transportation. So what I am doing is I am reaching out to these 3PLs. They are doing that activity for me. So I have 5 packages. I hand over to DHL. DHL says, okay, within 3 days, all 5 will be delivered to the respective places. And that is how it is DHL's headache to get in touch with 5 different types of carriers altogether at his end. One, he is going to take care of Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Bangalore, like that. And that is how he is going to manage. So my perspective would be to simply to reach out to him, because either I do and manage 5-6 carriers ultimately, which is my headache, or I pass on this headache to that person who is well enough to manage that part. And that is how this birth of 3PL came into the picture, where you have a shipper, you have the carrier, but to manage that particular transportation, you have a third party entity included in your business entity. And with that, that comes up various other different entities altogether, like you have your security, you have your warehousing, you have your XYZ thing, whatsoever you say, you name it, they do it for you. And that is how it makes easier for the relevant person as well, and most likely they go further as well. Able to realize?
Yes, Rohan, good example.
Okay.
Made it very simplify. If you have this carrier guy is one place, he can do all my business. If you have multiple places, you may have capacity, may not. So 3PL is a more
more sorted solution, most likely in the present world age.
Yep.
Now, that is the reason I'm talking about. So now it is not only 3PL. Now let's talk about different kind of PLs like above 3PL. Now, when you talk about 4PL and 5PL, these are not the mandatory set of partners, but from a business point of view, these are probably important, because my journey was able to get fulfilled because of the scope in 1PL also. Based upon the scope and mandatoriness of the condition, I can fulfill it in 2PL, and probably considering what present situation is, because world is getting smaller, so probably 3PL is providing that part. Now what 4PL is doing? 4PL is basically a non-executing partner. Up till now, each of these 3% or each of these 3 entities are executing partner. He is carrying the goods. He is helping in carrying the goods. He is the goods whose goods it belong to. So these all three are entities, major entities, which are responsible for building up the pillars of 3PL. But this 4PL guy is not the execution partner. He is a managing partner. And that is how you might be seeing some difference with the 4PL. This 4PL basically manages the shipments basically over here. Now, whenever the company becomes big, lot many discrepancies do crop in. Okay, so these 4PL partners basically oversees the operations, but they do not interfere in the operations. They are the ones who actually provide the feedbacks, improvement, processes, so that 3PL operations goes smooth. They are the one who actually keeps an eye on 3PL's operation. And hence I'm talking about and I'm saying that these 4PLs are the managing partners most likely. For example, you might have heard about Apple, not Apple, I would say, Google and Alphabet. Heard about Google and Alphabet?
We heard their company, but not the transportation service. Yeah.
No, leave the transportation. I'm just giving you some
These 4PLs
random
are,
example. Yeah.
Rohan, these
Hmm?
4PLs are also called as clearing and forwarding agents in oil industry like Vidal.
They are primarily the managing partners, strategically managing partners.
Yes.
They
Are
can
not become a
provide,
part of a Vidal, but they are
yes,
anyhow managing, clearing and forwarding agents
correct,
are going to keep the stock and clear the stock and organize the transport for it. Everything belongs to them, but they are going to put their keen eye on the only
correct,
sales.
correct.
Correct?
So let me give a wider audience idea. Uh, when you talk about a 4PL, if probably Google example, that's the reason I'm trying to give it. Uh, Alphabet is a parent company of Google, right? If not, it is. Okay. So if you're not aware, it is. Okay. And similar kind of companies you would see everywhere. Okay. Wherever you would have an executing body like these are the one which are executing bodies. They definitely need a management body altogether. And that is the reason you might be talking about some titles like chief executing officers and chief managing directors. Heard about these two titles? CMD, CEO. CEOs you might have heard about. CMDs also. Yeah.
Yes.
What these two titles says, both are the top titles, but both have different functions altogether. Chief executing officer is actually helping you in execution of the entire activity which is talking about. So when I talk about Google CEO, you don't have CMD over there because Google is an executing company where a person is executing and the chief executing officer is enabling and ensuring that the organization works. So that is your execution body, whereas its parent organization, Alphabet, is simply a management body, which takes care of and makes sure that my executing bodies are in line with the projections. They are following the forecast. They are aligned with the stock markets. They are aligned with the news. So basically, the execution body is simply doing the execution job. Altogether, the fourth party, that is another partner which is there, is simply making sure that you are in line with that projections which is highlighted and given to you. Another example, you might have heard about these companies called as BCG, McKinsey, Bain
Yes,
and
McKinsey,
Company,
yes,
Hmm?
consulting firms, top management.
consulting, management consulting firms. What do they do first of all?
Strategy consulting,
Strategy.
they use the word. Yeah.
Correct. So basically, if I say they are the ones who actually consult you from the point of view that if you lay off 5,000 employees, if you invest in AI, if you divest this amount of business, you open one store over this place, if you follow 5, 6 parameters, what we suggest based upon our metrics, I won't name because we are following this methodology. We have this metrics which we are following. If you consider this, then you probably will be moving from this metrics from the lower end, you can reach to the top end. And if you follow this, you'll be leading in the segment of your market where you're operating. So such kind of companies basically are basically called as fourth parties, which are included in your overall plan, but they are not the part of your execution. Now it is up to you as an execution body whether you would like to have those included or not as their suggestions. So these somehow are included in most of the cases. Most likely you might partner them for a certain time period, or you might have your own division in your company altogether. Every company has that nowadays. So some sort of. So that is the reason these 4 PLs are important, because you have to be in line with the projections which you are making in the market. And that is how you sustain in the market, because otherwise you'll fall altogether. So that's the reason they are necessary, but they have no role to play with your execution area. So that is the reason eventually what you see in TM, you would see their TM either at this level, if you talk from a TM perspective, because we are going to get into TM. So we are talking about TM. Either it is going to be like this or it is going to be like this, because 1 PL is a very smaller scope where you might not even need any ERP, not talking about TM also. Even an Excel or in a notepad, if I write it out, it is fine for me at 1 PL level. So the system which is needed most likely as a TM system, you might need only at a 2 PL or at a 3 PL level itself. 4 PL is an execution, non-execution body altogether. Getting that part?
Very clear. Thank you for the Google example. Excellent example.
No worries. Thank you.
I didn't know that McKinsey is the 4PL.
Correct, correct. Any management. So just read out those titles. You will be able to realize technical consultant, management consultant, chief executing officers, chief managing directors. So wherever this managing comes into picture, they simply talk. They don't work.
That is what
As
nice
simple as that.
example it is. So
As
the
simple as
TM
that.
consultants are 3PLs. Okay.
Very correct. So we are executioners. So basically we execute. Okay. Now, talking about 5 PL. Now, let's talk about up till now, it was all farmer who was arranging most likely. So what the farmer did, farmer get in touch with 3PL. He does the transportation part. Farmer included management consultants. Probably they are on their advice, most likely 3PL is working. Now, suppose right now, up till now, everything was being handled by the farmer itself. Okay. Now, suppose farmer got a good offer from Reliance. So Mukesh Ambani sir came to the picture and says, "Okay, farmer, you are just growing 1 hectare of 1 kg of fruit and 1 hectare of land. If you give me your land, I don't want to be the owner. You be the owner. You be the party. Okay, I don't want to be the owner. If you give me that 1 hectare of land, I'll grow 50 kgs of fruits and vegetables in that particular piece of land, and I'll give you your share. Most likely, suppose you are selling 1 kg of fruit, I'll give you 5 kg of price of 5 kg of fruit. And since maybe I have another party which is coming from the business point of view, maybe it looks promising to that farmer guy. He leases out his land to some person, and he indirectly he is actually managing this entire movement. And he says that okay, I also do have my own Reliance stores, so I'll send your goods which are generated to my Reliance stores also. Whatever you are using your channel, I'll send that through that channel also, but I'll give you much more wider scope from the business point of view also. So from that perspective, my supply chain most likely will be flourished more. So most likely the farmer who was having an independent gain over here up till now from the production point of view is now sharing that same thing with some another entity as well. Maybe for the profits, maybe for the amount of good innovative product that he's probably planting, whatever it is, but he's now a part of another segment altogether. So, and that is how when you talk about these 5 PLs, 5 PLs again are nothing but meant for the mergers, acquisitions, and for the expansions of the businesses. Okay. However, the basic logistical part will be taken care by you only. And that is the reason when you talk from the TM perspective, now I would like to concise our discussion. You would see your TM either in this 2PL case or in 3PL case altogether, because these two are the only segments where you would be doing your actual execution to talk about.
Rohan, one question, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah, please,
You give a
please.
beautiful example, Reliance, because Reliance or Walmart, they are doing that business. Am I right?
Correct.
Maybe Walmart is the best example. I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they go to the farmers, they took their lands, they
Correct.
they they grow their, then they will pack it and send it to their own grocery. Till now, they won't pay anything. Once they sell it, then only they'll pay for them. But who is he's a 5PL is in executing. They are really executing. Am I right? They grow, they pay for their employees who is working on the
Hmm.
farms, who is working on
Hmm.
the grocery stores. Entire thing 5PL is an executing body. In the 4PL is not in a
Correct. Not an
non-executing
executing.
advisory.
True.
5PL is a
True.
full hands-on. Only farmers
Full,
leaves
full.
his land
Hmm.
and farm. Am I right?
Complete overlook out, basically, just like how you give an example. Exactly correct.
Like we take a manufacturing facilities, pharma companies, we take them their facilities, we
Correct.
we manufacture whatever we want. Finally,
Yes.
we sell
True.
them everything. Only that may be the okay. Got it.
True.
Got it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Very good example for this 5PL is Cargill mostly, correct? Who is going to acquire the lands and going to do the entire business of food
Correct.
globally.
Lot many companies to talk about, I would say, because ultimately all these companies would need you as an executioners, as simple as that. So
Yes.
ultimately,
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
this chain can keep on elongating altogether. Okay, so most likely you still have um, a lot many people coming to, because the day by day the businesses are evolving in such a manner that it is formulating a different definition altogether. So, but from our perspective, from TM side of business, you might be only be able to limiting yourself most likely with 2PL and 3PL. If you go with the two, probably the shipper scenario comes into picture. If you go with the three, it becomes an LSP scenario altogether. And that's the reason I probably told in our demo, in our initial segment also, that you probably have either of these two cases which you might see in your lifetime of your journey, because you are going to be a TM guy. Okay.
Because in 5PL, the things might totally change, right?
Totally
So,
changed. True, true. Very correct.
the more and more you are adding the layers. Now, in 5, once it comes to the stage of 5PL, the other layers could have been coalesced by
Correct.
these,
Correct.
right. Yeah.
That is how it usually and any business probably works. So definitely it goes and builds in that
So
way only.
our TM, we will limit ourselves till 3PL, right?
Yes, because actual operation will be taken care by your TM only. So, and when you talk about TM, either it would be from the perspective of a 3PL where you are sitting most likely, or Either it will be done from a shipper's point of view where TM is sitting. So your eyes should be, or you will be wearing the hat where TM is there. So you'll be wearing from that point of view only. So we'll talk from both the point of view once we'll get into the system altogether.
Perfect. Okay.
Rohan, just for talking about these 4PL and the 5PL, and using the previous example where we kept DHL as, or these FedEx as the 3PL guys, adding the fourth layer, so will there be just one more company on top of on top of DHL and FedEx, which is a logistics company that will, give them guidance?
No, it again could be any other thing. So it may be a logistics consulting company, may not be a specific company, or it could be any other company. But the point being, 4PL is nothing but a consulting or advisory or managing company who can probably give you an advice on what DHL would like to hear, most likely. Suppose DHL is running in losses, most likely. So whom I should be reaching out? Most likely, suppose I reach out to McKinsey, but maybe McKinsey is not the right company. Maybe some different other company, or maybe like independent consultants are there.
Okay.
So could be any person. It is not a company which will overshadow DHL altogether.
Got it. But okay, just the definition part got me a little off. Because we said a logistics company, so then I was like trying to figure out, I mean, if there's any other logistics company that can go above it.
Usually you would go with some sort of either expertise company which is there in the logistics area. So that is what you would be seeking an advice for. So altogether. So even if you reach out to McKinsey would have their own division of, okay, DHL is coming to us. Okay, reach out to the logistics division. Whosoever is the logistic expert, he'll reach out to you altogether. So that is how it works.
Right.
Okay.
5PL, even the McKinsey is involved, am I right? Just maybe in the case of 5PL, we have advisory companies. On the top, somebody else is there. Am I correct?
Somebody else is there, correct. Maybe you are following the advice, but maybe Reliance came into picture. Reliance says, okay, whatever McKinsey is saying, okay, it is fine. But this is how I am going to go. I am going to increase my production capacity like by 10x. And Reliance would say, okay, this is how you will go with. And probably McKinsey will make in line because, okay, this is how businesses are going to run. Because these McKinsey is simply an advising company. You give me some more XYZ variable changes, McKinsey would adjust and give you the answer accordingly. As simple as that.
So in this case of
But
5PL,
to manage that, go ahead. Sorry.
In the case of 5PL, for example, if McKinsey is doing the job for Reliance or Cargill or whoever it is, will Reliance take over McKinsey take over the responsibility of talking to all these farmers and getting them in to align?
Whosoever no, whosoever hires McKinsey. So if Reliance hires McKinsey, if
then
he
he's back,
feels,
then isn't he back to the same sort of a consignee or perhaps even the shipper in that sense, in a way?
I'm sorry, I didn't get.
I mean, if these goods are being sent across from, I mean, if he's Reliance is originally the seller, selling to the end customer, and then he himself comes back into the picture as a different, what do we say, in a different role. Maybe I've just mixed up. Probably I just mixed things up over here.
Okay, no worries. Maybe no worries. I think most likely you can take some time and probably we can talk about also.
Sure.
Okay, so most likely also we are up with the time. So most likely, over with the time. Okay, great. So let's talk about, I think in the next session, I think we'll go further in the session and we'll talk about the rest of the slides and probably we'll talk about in next session, I think next weekend, right? And I hope today's session was pretty much fruitful and informative to you guys with many things to talk about and understanding the terms that we are probably hearing all together, and we'll keep on hearing up till the subject. So I hope it was fruitful for you guys.
So Rohan, this class is Saturday and Sunday, am I right?
Yes, over the weekends, correct. Saturday, Sunday, 6:30 to 9:30, correct. IST.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Excellent
much.
example you gave, 4PL, 5PL. Thank you, Rohan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Hoping
you
to
so
see you
much.
all there.